Chapter 536. The sky turned crimson. That was the realm demon's bulging body, giving off a blood-red glow that illuminated the entire world. The realm demon had begun to move. Boom! The giant tree made of flesh and blood shot straight to the sky, crashing into a floating island along the way. The entire floating island was directly smashed into pieces, forming a cloud of gray smoke in midair. But the realm demon tree continued to shoot to the sky, stopping only when it reached the sky. Gongzi, there's clearly no cultivator here, but the realm demon is still moving, Shanu said. Gu Qingshan waved her hand to signal her to stop. At the very next moment, a giant blood-red figure rose from Guangyang Sek's floating island, slowly rising to the sky. The entire realm demon tree was covered in sharp spikes, slightly trembling in the air, as if trying to sense spirit energy. This realm demon tree almost brushed past the edge of Guangyang Sek's floating island as it ascended, almost destroying the entire floating island. Before Gu Qingshan could feel lucky, another realm demon tree rose from not too far away. The realm demon trees appeared one after another. The realm demon trees appeared so quickly that many of the floating islands couldn't react in time and were smashed to pieces. The floating islands were destroyed. The cultivators on those islands were scattered all over the sky. They couldn't help but release their spirit energy to prevent themselves from falling. This was something they couldn't do, since the realm demon was right below them. Unfortunately, this method of quenching one's thirst with poison only hastened the destruction of everything. As soon as the first spirit energy appeared in a cultivator's hand seal, the realm demon noticed it. The realm demon tree next to that cultivator abruptly produced a bright red fruit. Pa! With a light sound, the fruit split open. A thin piece of skin as thin as a cicada's wing fell out from the fruit. It stared at the cultivator and laughed. Good, very good. This was the realm demon's conscious form. Following that, the entire realm demon tree was filled with fruit. Countless pieces of human skin appeared. They all stared at the cultivators in the sky, laughing in unison. Good, very good, so many delicious souls. Boom, 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 boom. The realm demon tree that covered the entire world was constantly destroying the floating islands in the sky. The floating islands were destroyed one after another. More and more cultivators appeared in the sky. They fled in panic, but they didn't know where to go. They screamed madly, but could not think of any way to survive. However, more and more realm demon trees began to bear fruits and release their consciousness. Countless pieces of human skin appeared. At some point, the human skins began to hunt. They were so fast that ordinary cultivators wouldn't be able to react in time. A grand virtualized realm cultivator unleashed his treasure and barely managed to block one or two attacks before he was quickly enveloped by the sea of human skins. This wasn't the consciousness of one or two realm demon trees. This was a tide of monsters unleashed by tens of thousands of realm demon trees at the same time. Cries of despair could be heard coming from the encirclement of the human skins, and then the sounds gradually faded away. The skin bags scattered. Within the void, the cultivator had already disappeared without a trace. He was a Taishu realm cultivator, but he was devoured in an instant. Under the encirclement of the realm demon's consciousness, the power of a Taishu realm cultivator was nothing but a drop in the ocean. After devouring this great cultivator, the human skins twisted their thin bodies and changed directions. They turned to look elsewhere. The sky was filled with cultivators who couldn't escape anymore. The human skins began to hunt again. Right away, a cruel and bloody scene appeared. Screams, screams, screams. Blood filled the sky. The human skins laughed in frenzy. The cultivators couldn't resist at all and were quickly devoured. He could see the human skins eating in every corner of the void. They were enjoying a gluttonous feast. This was the final moment of the entire world. Guangyang Sek's floating island. Gongzi, what do we do now? Shanu worriedly asked. Turn back into a sword this time. I have to face this alone. Why? I can help you. Shanu was confused. Gu Shan spoke with a serious tone. This time, it has nothing to do with power, but rather adaptability. In a situation like this, the fewer people there are, the better. Yes, Shanu turned around and turned back into the Six Paths Great Mountain Sword. Gu Shan held it in his hand and put it away in his thought sea. Gu Shan took a deep breath and looked outside the floating island. There were trees of flesh and blood everywhere, and they were still growing. At this rate, all the floating islands in the world wouldn't be able to escape, they would all be reduced to dust and rubble. Gu Shan stared at the cultivators in the sky. A few cultivators banded together and used spirit energy to cast large-scale spells to stop the realm demon's consciousness. But this was meaningless. The realm demon's consciousness was the absolute majority. The cultivators were quickly defeated, and were then divided and eaten. So this is absolute power suppression, huh? Gu Shan sighed, muttering in a low voice. Against such power, he couldn't do anything. He was lucky. Guangyang Sek's floating island wasn't destroyed right away. The island's spirit energy isolation formation was still working well, and no more realm demon's consciousness had appeared. But this situation won't last long, it'll be broken sooner or later. Gu Shan took the time to observe the world around him. He was trying to think of a way to deal with it. Roar! The realm demon let out a loud roar that shook the entire world. More and more trees of flesh and blood appeared, taking over the entire world. Gu Shan looked at a certain direction in the sky. A floating island was slowly descending from that direction. Gu Shan looked at other directions. All the surviving floating islands were descending lower and lower, as if some sort of force was trying to pull them down from the sky. Suddenly, a black vortex appeared in the sky. That part of the void of space disappeared. Even the sky itself seemed to have become a lot shorter. Space is shrinking, Gu Shan muttered. Unlike what he thought, the world didn't disappear right away, instead it started to collapse and shrink at a rapid pace. If that's the case, at the end of the world, any surviving cultivator would have to face the realm demon head-on. All of a sudden, the ground started to shake. Boom! With a loud noise, Guangyang Sek's floating island began to tilt. A realm demon great tree finally pierced through Guangyang Sek's floating island. Against the power of the great tree, all of the floating island's defensive formations were destroyed. The entire floating island shook. The cracks on the ground grew wider, almost half of the island fell off and collapsed. Amidst the dust and dirt, the other half of the island barely managed to hang in the air without falling. The spiritual light produced when the formation was destroyed immediately attracted countless human skins. They swarmed towards it. But after circling around the entire floating island, they found that there weren't any cultivators on the island at all. A dense mass of human skins flew across the sky above the floating island. They circled around it for a while, unwilling to leave. Indeed, there were all kinds of living beings on this island, but these living beings were too normal, too small, and didn't have any spirit energy at all. This didn't interest the skins at all. A few moments later, even when the entire island was about to collapse, no cultivators appeared. Seeing that the floating island was completely destroyed, the skins couldn't wait any longer and scattered. In the sky, there were even more delicious prey and islands. The skins all left, heading elsewhere to hunt for food. Guangyang Sek's floating island was completely destroyed, falling down towards the ground. The last piece of the entire island to fall was the mountain on top of the island. The originally majestic mountains crumbled and fell with a loud rumble. The creatures in the mountains scattered in all directions in a panic. Unfortunately, they were only wild beasts with insufficient intelligence, so they didn't know what was actually happening in the world. They would fall onto the realm demon's body, slowly sinking into it and turning into a thin layer of nutrients to nourish the realm demon's body. On top of the mountain, there was a flametail spirit monkey that was desperately trying to climb to the top. It used both its hands and feet, moving extremely fast, fully utilizing the agility of an ape to its very limit. The mountain continued to fall. But the flame-tail spirit monkey continued to climb and climb. Finally, before the mountain completely collapsed, the flame-tail spirit monkey reached the top of the mountain. Standing at the top of the mountain, it leapt up towards the sky. The mountain began to fall. The flame-tail spirit monkey leapt up. It caught a tree branch. This was a tree branch on another floating island. As soon as the two islands passed each other, the flame-tail spirit monkey leapt up. The flame-tail spirit monkey skillfully flipped its body and climbed up a tree branch. Before it could even rest, another deafening sound of impact resounded. This island was also hit by the realm demon tree. Due to the island's low position and the fact that it was struck by the realm demon tree, the entire island collapsed in an instant. The flame-tail spirit monkey stared down at this. It leapt up again. But this time, the other islands were too far away, so the flame-tail spirit monkey couldn't get there at all. The entire island collapsed and crashed, and soon, it completely fell down. The remains of the island fell on the realm demon's body, slowly sank into it and disappeared. In the sky, there was a butterfly fluttering its wings at the original location of the island, flying to another floating island. While flying, the butterfly cautiously observed its surroundings. High up in the sky, more and more islands were forcefully pushed down by the space dimension. Some of the islands directly fell down. A few of them were still barely holding on. The number of surviving islands in the suspended world was dwindling. But it definitely couldn't touch the realm demon's body. Nothing could escape its body's devouring. The butterfly flapped its wings and continued flying towards its target. Walking through the densely packed human skins was an extremely unsafe thing to do. But the butterfly was only a normal, weak creature. It didn't have any spirit energy at all. The realm demon's consciousness passed by it, heading straight for the fleeing cultivators without paying any attention to it. Cultivators were the most delicious food, so all the human skins were fighting over them. They didn't have the time to pay attention to a single butterfly. The butterfly safely flew towards another island not too far away. It was a large island with a vast wilderness. A few moments later, the butterfly reached the island. The butterfly landed on the ground and turned into a six-eared flower deer. This was a type of small spirit beast that was extremely fast. Before the realm demon came to this world, this type of spirit beast was very popular, because its running speed was almost as fast as a cultivator's flying speed. The six-eared flower deer leisurely took a few steps forward. It found a shady spot and laid down to rest. Stamina was also very important, so it couldn't afford to waste a single bit of it. The six-eared flower deer stared at the sky, observing the destruction of the floating islands as well as the death of the cultivators one by one. Its expression was calm and focused, as if the destruction of the entire world wouldn't affect it at all. There were fewer and fewer surviving islands in the sky. Boom! Not too long after, this island was also hit. The island began to collapse. The six-eared flower deer quickly stood up and ran away. It turned into a streak of light as it ran across the wilderness. While running, it was also observing the situation of the islands in the sky. All of a sudden, one of the islands went completely out of control and crashed towards this island. It was a lake island. At the same time, the island also began to tilt. Many living beings fell off the island. But it didn't matter, the six-eared flower deer was extremely fast. It ran and ran, all the way to the top of the wilderness. Only by reaching the top would it have a chance of survival. Just as the six-eared flower deer reached the top of the wilderness, the lake island flew over at high speed, colliding with the floating island at an almost perpendicular angle. Boom! Under the intense impact, countless living beings were thrown into the sky. The water of the lake turned into droplets of water, trembling as they gathered, then finally turned into rain that covered the sky. The water of the lake splashed everywhere as the rain poured down. The two islands broke apart layer by layer, turning into two clouds of yellow mist in the sky. Right before the two islands crashed into each other, The six-eared flower deer had already reached the top of the wilderness. It sped up. With an earth-shattering sound of impact, the six-eared flower deer leapt high into the sky. Using the speed it had accumulated over the past few days, it managed to escape from the island. In the sky, a few human skin bags circled around it in disdain. The human skin bags leapt towards the cultivators and devoured them all in an instant. The six-eared flower deer flew through the sky, leaving the two destroyed islands behind. It crashed into another lake island. This was the last surviving island, as well as the place it had chosen a long time ago. This place might give it a few dozen breaths worth of peace. Splash! Water splashed everywhere. The six-eared flower deer sank into the lake. Chapter 537. The majority of the islands had already been destroyed by the realm demon tree. Dust filled the air, covering the entire sky. But the color of the dust that covered the sky was slowly turning from a faint yellow to black, because the space in the sky was being compressed. All the dust was being squeezed together. The few floating islands at the very top of the sky were giving off layers of light that exploded in the air. This was a problem with the hovering formation. Normally, the hovering formation would be set to a certain height. While the hovering formation was active, the island would maintain that height. But how powerful was the collapse of space? The hovering formation couldn't stop it and could only collapse. More and more islands fell down like meteors. The carp silently floated on the water, watching this. It was thinking of a solution. I know that Rakshas's daughter knows the mystery of all beings equal. But Rakshas's daughter doesn't know that I know the mystery of all beings equal. This is the biggest advantage I have. While thinking of a solution, the carp silently waited. Waiting for the final moment of the world's collapse. No one knows when that moment will come. If the other Rakshasa candidate still doesn't show up at that time, then the right to become an official Rakshasa will be mine. Boom, boom, boom. The islands were crashing into each other. As space shrank, the collisions between the islands became more and more frequent. The carp leisurely swam around in the water, observing the collapse of the world. Soon, the world is about to be destroyed. The carp continued to swim. Time slowly passed. All of a sudden, the carp tilted its head up and stared at the sky. A crack suddenly appeared in the sky. This was a crack formed by spatial travel. The carp was quick to recognize this. Who would return to a collapsing world at this point in time? The answer was obvious. The carp twisted its body and sank down a bit, hiding itself under the water. At this point, it understood very well that the true battle had only just begun. The crack in space widened. A woman wearing a white fox mask appeared from the crack. Rakshas's daughter. As soon as Rakshas's daughter appeared, 7 to 8 human skins immediately noticed her presence. This was a delicious delicacy. The human skins became restless. They were attacking Rakshas's daughter at an unrecognizable speed. Without saying anything else, Rakshas's daughter turned around and turned into a rock. The rock passed through the swarm of fleeing cultivators and escaped from the flying dust. It fell straight down in one direction. The human skins felt their vision blur, and the delicious food disappeared. Most of the human skins left to chase after other cultivators. However, a few sharp-eyed human skins picked up their speed and caught up with the rock. They did everything they could to explore the rocks. But this was indeed a piece of rock. This substance was not tasty at all. The human skins reluctantly left. The rock was unscathed and continued to fall. Rakshas's daughter instantly understood the situation, turned into a rock, and chose the spot where she would fall. At this moment, the sky full of human skins ignored her. Rakshas's daughter heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he had reflected on the failure of being teleported to the quarantine area last time and had prepared the corresponding measures. His opponent used the same move. He wouldn't fall for it no matter what. Even though he was in a sorry state, even though he was covered in blood, he still came back. Unfortunately, the 4 cryptic spirit realm subordinates were all teleported away by the space-piercing formation. Throughout history, no one had ever survived after using this formation. Those were 4 cryptic spirit realm cultivators. This kind of subordinate, if properly trained, would be a very capable assistant. The loss was too great. If I can't become Rakshasa, I'll lose terribly. Thinking about becoming Rakshasa, Rakshasa's daughter sighed in relief. With the all things equal, he would be able to easily win this trial. No matter who my opponent is, they won't be able to win against the realm demon. And I can only turn into an inanimate object and wait for my opponent to be eliminated. This is probably the best thing I can do. The rock fell from the sky. It was falling towards an island on a lake. This was the final floating island. Plop! The rock fell into the lake and sank all the way to the bottom. Even though the entire world was in the midst of destruction, the bottom of this lake was still temporarily calm. The rock silently sat at the bottom of the lake, bored to death, waiting for the trial to end. Speaking of which, who was my opponent? Why did a competitor suddenly appear out of nowhere? Could it be Chien? That's right, it's most likely him. After all, he was the only one who caused me to lose a Rakshasa's life. The rock silently fell into thought. A carp leisurely swam past the rock. Noticing the carp, the rock felt a bit emotional. These fish were still enjoying their peaceful time, not knowing that this was already the final moments of this world. A few dozen seconds later, the rock was silently shocked. Strange. Why isn't he dead yet? Normally, the white fox should have appeared as soon as the victor was decided. But the white fox was nowhere to be seen. What kind of opponent was able to last so long against the realm demon's sentient form? With Qi Yan's strength, he shouldn't have been able to do that. This time the rock was a bit curious. Right after that, the rock woke up. How careless! I can clearly observe the battle in the sky without being noticed by the realm demon. While thinking that, the rock turned into a tree trunk as tall as a person. This tree trunk looked a bit like a person. This was because his grasp of the mystery wasn't that good, so there were always some parts that weren't smooth enough. But under normal circumstances, this wouldn't be a problem. The branch floated up from the bottom of the lake, silently floating on top of the water. It observed the bloodbath in the sky, trying to find its opponent. While it was observing, a gush of water appeared. The branch suddenly noticed a huge guy in the water. It was a 5-meter-long crocodile. The crocodile floated lazily on the water's surface. The branch only glanced at it a bit before ignoring it. It was just a crocodile, a common sight in a lake or swamp. Wait a minute, why is this crocodile swimming over here? The crocodile's beady eyes were staring at the branch without moving. The branch was feeling a bit nervous. What are you looking at? I'm just a branch. While it was thinking that, a few pieces of human skin appeared on the surface of the lake. The branch immediately gave up on trying to kill the crocodile. If it's found out, it'll be a huge loss. The branch stopped moving, but the crocodile took that chance and swung its tail, sending the branch flying. The branch was on guard against being bitten, but it wasn't on guard against this. After all, it's only a real branch right now. Even activating the mystery would take a bit of time. The branch was sent flying, landing on the sandy ground next to the lake. After a while, the branch finally reacted. I was hit by a crocodile. Is there something wrong with this crocodile? The branch didn't move, waiting to attack. The crocodile finally calmed down, swam around a bit, then slowly sank back into the water. The crocodile left. After a while, the branch realized what just happened. From the looks of it, that dumb big guy thought I was an intruder. While the branch was thinking that, another wolf jumped out from the bush. As soon as the wolf saw the branch, it jumped and bit. At this point, there were still quite a few pieces of human skin chasing after the cultivator in the sky. The branch really couldn't kill this animal right now. In that instant, the branch suddenly understood something. How shameful. I'm not proficient enough in the mystery. As a branch, I look too much like a person, making it easy for animals to become hostile. After I return, I need to learn the mystery as much as I can. After making up its mind, the branch disappeared without a trace. Among the countless grains of sand on the beach, a single grain of sand silently appeared. The wolf bit nothing, looked around, hesitated for a few moments, then begrudgingly left. This should be fine, right? Hiding among the thousands of grains of sand, who could possibly do anything to me now? The grain of sand sighed in relief and silently thought. While it was thinking that, another Multiverse ant slowly crawled over with its 2 antennae. The Multiverse ant was a type of ant that liked to eat sand and rock. It would use its special saliva to corrode and stick the sand and rocks together to create its own nest. Looking at the Multiverse ant, the grain of sand felt a bit uneasy. What's going on today? Something's not right. The grain of sand raised its guard. Fortunately, the Multiverse ant didn't target it. It was letting out a light woo-woo sound to call for its companions. The grain of sand sighed in relief. That's right, it's only calling for its companions. They only want to build a nest, not me. Wait a minute. Build a nest. The grain of sand went silent. Without saying anything else, it turned into a heavy rock. This change scared the Multiverse ant so much that it turned around and ran. The Multiverse ant quickly disappeared from the rock's sight. The rock waited for a while longer. But no other animals came to bother it. Could it really be a coincidence? The rock waited for a while longer. Boom! The surface of the lake suddenly split open. A blood-colored tree branch reached out from the lake. The realm demon tree. It still managed to hit the island. The crack in the lake slowly widened. The water quickly seeped down. A giant whirlpool manifested. The originally leisurely fish sensed the change in the water and began to scatter like headless flies. The water quickly poured down. The entire island began to tilt. Sand and rocks began to fall. The lake water splashed all over the place. The final floating island was also being destroyed by the realm demon. Countless rocks and sand fell from the sky, landing on the realm demon's body. Regardless of whether it was a living being or an inanimate object, as long as they touched the realm demon, they would be devoured by its muscles. There were no more floating islands in the sky. Even this final island was struck by the realm demon tree and began to collapse. The rock had been waiting for so long and sighed in relief. Seems like nothing out of the ordinary happened. If I knew this would happen, I would have stayed at the bottom of the lake instead of turning into a tree branch. But it's not too late. After this, I'll just be a rock and stay here until the very last moment of the world's collapse. What the rock didn't know was that on the other side, a 6-eared flower deer was running. The 6-eared flower deer was running at full speed, getting faster and faster. It was running as fast as it could. From above, one could only see a brown streak of light flying away. In just a few moments, the 6-eared flower deer had reached the beach. At the same time, the rock also noticed the deer. The rock seemed to understand something. This deer is coming straight for me, there must be something wrong. All the animals that came before weren't right. But the deer was too fast. As soon as the rock saw it, the deer had already reached it. The deer was gone. A giant black bear let out a deafening roar and pounded the rock with all its might. Boom! The rock was sent flying like a cannonball. The moment before the floating island completely crashed, it was sent flying. And this was the only floating island. Below the sky was the realm demon's true body. The falling rock panicked. I can't fall down, otherwise I'll be devoured by the realm demon. It abruptly turned into a drifting leaf, weaving through the countless realm demon trees. It carefully retracted all of its presence, not even using inner sight for fear of alerting the realm demon. At a certain point, the leaf noticed the movement of the wind. It adjusted the angle of its leaf, doing its best to follow the direction of the wind, and flew towards the sky. This leaf flew with the wind. Fluttering, flying, it left a mark in the sky, but didn't use any spirit energy at all. He was the leaf, and the leaf was him. I'm finally safe for now. The leaf silently sighed in relief. So my opponent can turn into an animal. With such a unique ability, no wonder he didn't die. The leaf couldn't help but curse in its mind. Now that I know his trump card, it's time to see what I can do next. While the leaf was thinking that, its vision went dark. From above, it could only see an eagle flying through the sky, quickly diving down. It reached out its sharp claws and caught a fluttering leaf. The eagle's claws parted. The leaf then split into two petals, scattering in the wind and drifting away. Chapter 538. The eagle tore through the leaf and flew away. The two leaves stopped in midair, then suddenly turned into two halves of a corpse. Thick spirit energy began to spread from the mist of blood. Obviously, this corpse still wanted to do something at the very last moment. This spirit energy fluctuation attracted the attention of several pieces of human skin. 2 pieces of human skin flew up and attached themselves to the corpse. The corpse quickly disappeared without a trace. The eagle didn't even look back, flying as fast as it could in the direction with the least amount of human skin. After flying for a few breaths worth of time, the white fox suddenly appeared. It stood in front of the eagle, as if waiting for the eagle. This time, the white fox was holding a stick that was covered with a long black cloth. Countless runes and characters were constantly appearing on the black cloth, exuding an indescribable presence. The white fox swung the stick around. A transparent, glass-like outer shell covered both the white fox and the eagle. With this layer of outer shell, the surrounding human skins all ignored this space. The white fox rested the stick on its shoulder and spoke to the eagle. "You've done very well, congratulations, you've obtained the right to become the only Rakshasa." The eagle circled around, looking around but didn't reply. Only to see that besides the eagle and the white fox, there were no other living beings left in this world. All the cultivators had been devoured by the human skins. All living beings fell down along with the floating island into the realm demon's body. Everything was over. The space in the sky was collapsing even faster. The entire world was shrinking. Roar! With a resounding roar, the realm demon's body suddenly stretched out. The sky disappeared. Space also stopped shrinking. Everything around it disappeared. The wind of darkness and chaos replaced all the sights. The white fox took in this sight and said to Old Eagle, "This demon god is using too much strength." In an instant, the world of destruction exploded. Indeed, the world no longer existed. The realm demon's current location was where the suspended world originally stood in the space vortex. And the suspended world was now a thing of the past. It was permanently gone. Or rather, it had been completely devoured by the realm demon. "When are we leaving?" The eagle spoke in human language. It was Gu Qingshan's voice. "Something must have done something. Since the very beginning, this space has been sealed," the white fox said. It narrowed its eyes and exuded a dangerous aura. "Looks like it's really as you said. There's a guy hiding in the dark," the white fox continued. "Is there no way to forcefully teleport away?" Eagle asked in a low voice. "The thing that I fear the most when I travel through space is interference. But it doesn't matter. I'll just get rid of that troublemaker later." Hearing that, the eagle turned back into Gu Qingshan and stood in the void of space. Gu Qingshan took out a sword and held it tightly. The white fox noticed his actions and laughed. "Are you afraid? Don't worry, with this weapon in hand, not even 2 realm demons can defeat me." Gu Qingshan fell silent. White fox, even though it came from the middle layer world, it only noticed the strangeness of this world after Meng Qi secretly reminded it through the jade slip. Even though the white fox knew everything, it seemed to have prepared a long rod as a weapon, and wasn't afraid of a true demon lord like the realm demon. Gu Qingshan felt that if it was him, he wouldn't have been so careless when facing an unknown enemy. But after thinking about it, the white fox said that it could deal with 2 realm demons. 2 realm demons? What kind of power is that? It's normal for such a powerful entity to be confident. While Gu Qingshan was thinking, the white fox suddenly looked up. Gu Qingshan immediately looked up at the sky, only to see a gigantic monster appearing from the chaotic space above the realm demon. It's here, Gu Qingshan silently thought. He carefully observed the gigantic monster. It was a strange entity made from countless pieces of flesh and blood. It descended and approached the two of them. Below them, black shadows began to appear from the realm demon's body. These black shadows rose up and directly drilled into the body of flesh and blood. If one used inner sight to observe, they would notice that these shadows were actually the souls of cultivators. Every black shadow let out a blood-curdling scream, as if they were fully aware of their own fates. Having obtained the souls of these cultivators, the body of flesh and blood began to move. It set off with a long sigh. Good baby, well done. Following its voice, the body of flesh and blood turned into a giant face. It was the face of a beautiful woman. The woman opened her mouth. Her mouth was able to open 180 degrees. All the shadows gathered into a black pillar of light that flowed from the realm demon's body into the woman's mouth. This process sped up. The woman's face was madly absorbing the souls of the cultivators. This speed was several dozen times faster than before. For the last 1,000 years, all the cultivators of this world were devoured by the woman's face. The white fox nodded. So this is the trap you mentioned? Gu Qingshan replied. I deduce that such an entity existed, but I'm not sure what it is. This is a type of converted demon lord. I also didn't think I would run into such a powerful guy in a scattered world. The white fox's expression became extremely serious. What's a converted demon lord? Gu Qingshan immediately asked. This was the first time he had heard of an existence above true demon lord. The white fox explained. A converted demon lord can take a demon lord that has taken over an ancient god's body and transform it into another unique life form. Such a demon lord is the main enemy of our world. This converted demon lord is currently consuming all the souls that the realm demon has stored for the last 1,000 years. It will become extremely powerful. Can you deal with it? Gu Qingshan asked. It's fine, it's within the range of what I can deal with. The white fox patted the black rod on his shoulder and spoke in relief. After you reminded me, I went back to take the strongest divine armament specifically made to deal with converted demon lords. As he said that, the giant female face looked over. She had noticed the commotion here. The white fox took out the black rod and held it horizontally in front of himself. Demon, release your spatial seal, or I'll kill you right now, the white fox said. The giant female face stared at the rod in the white fox's hand as her expression slowly disappeared. She stopped devouring and stared straight at Gu Qingshan. You, she spoke with a dry voice. Apparently not saying anything for a long time, she opened her mouth again and asked, Did you kill Tian Shanyi? Gu Qingshan looked at her, only to see that her giant eyes seemed to be waiting for something. She was waiting for an answer. Gu Qingshan thought about it and faintly understood the current situation. Gu Qingshan admitted, That's right, I killed him. The giant female face immediately showed an expression of relief. She seemed to have found some sort of comfort. You did well, the giant female face praised her. Her voice became clearer and clearer. That bastard Tian Shanyi, when I was still alive, he pestered me to teach him how to split his soul after I died. He split his soul and hid it for 1,000 years out of fear, so I couldn't find him. But this time, I've finally gotten what I wanted. Following the female face's words, a realm demon tree on the realm demon's body bore a bright red fruit. This fruit fell off the branch and flew towards the female face. As it stopped in front of the female face, its skin was peeled off. A blurred shadow appeared. As soon as the shadow appeared, it immediately tried to run away. But the female face stuck out a long tongue and lightly licked the shadow. The shadow was stuck to the tongue, struggling but couldn't move at all. It was now that Gu Qingshan could clearly see that this shadow looked like Tian Shanyi. The long tongue stuck to Tian Shanyi's soul, bringing it to the female face. Tian Shanyi, the female face, stared at him and let out a sigh of relief. Buttercup, listen to me, I was forced to do this. They controlled me and forced me to harm you. Tian Shanyi loudly screamed. A figure of this generation, yet his voice was filled with fear and sobs. Perhaps he knew just how terrifying the other party was. The female face silently listened and smirked mockingly. To prevent myself from being tricked by you again, I ate every soul in this world and searched through everyone's memories. Do you really think I wouldn't know the truth? She said. Buttercup, forgive me, I was just blinded by greed. Tian Shanyi screamed hysterically. The female face calmed down. You killed me, you killed the child that was about to be born, and now you want me to forgive you? She slowly spoke. Tian Shanyi, I've caught you now, I'll have countless years to slowly torture you to relieve my hatred, Buttercup. Tian Shanyi couldn't finish his words. The long tongue flickered, wrapped around Tian Shanyi's soul, and put it back into her mouth. The female face froze, then looked at Gu Qingshan. You're the second person I owe a debt of gratitude to, you've helped me capture this person, she said. I've decided to let you leave alive. Hearing that, Gu Qingshan clasped her fist. Thank you, go, before I change my mind. The female closed her eyes. Gu Qingshan and the white fox exchanged glances. At this point, the white fox sensed that the spatial seal had been released. It would be for the best if they didn't have to fight. Who would want to fight against such an existence for no reason? The white fox nodded and swung his tail in the air. A gate of light appeared. Let's go, follow me to the middle layer, to the world I came from, the white fox said. Got it, Gu Qingshan replied. The two of them glanced at the female face with the corner of their eyes. The female's face was completely still, her eyes closed. The white fox relaxed a bit. The white fox was about to bring Gu Qingshan through the gate of light. But its head suddenly disappeared. A black shadow flew out from its body towards the female face. The female face opened her mouth wide and swallowed the struggling shadow whole. Following that, the white fox's head and body were both eaten by her. How laughable! After eating the white fox, the female chuckled in a low voice. An insect of the middle layer, you can't even see through my cultivation, yet you dare to offend me? She opened her eyes and looked at Gu Qingshan. I've changed my mind, the female said. Is that so? Gu Qingshan reached his hand out and grabbed the earth sword from the void of space. He was prepared for one last struggle. Don't be nervous, the female smiled. With a nostalgic look on her face, she spoke. When I was still human, a combatant once helped me, but even now, my most important wish has been fulfilled, but I still haven't repaid that combatant's kindness. I've become a true demon, unable to return to the human world. Please help me give him something as repayment for helping you. Help me? Indeed, help you. The female looked straight at Gu Qingshan, her expression softening a bit. I know everything you've done in this world. Your attitude towards slaves is exactly the same as mine in the past, even your disgust towards this world is similar to mine. That's why I helped you once more. After saying that, the woman blew a breath of air at the door of light. The scene inside the gate of light expanded in front of Gu Qingshan. It was a ruin. Dozens of fully armored soldiers were pressing a row of people to the ground, beheading them one by one. Suddenly, someone called out, "Sir, a spatial passage has opened." Chapter 539. As Gu Qingshan stared at the scene on the other side of the gate, the people on the other side didn't notice at all. He didn't know what kind of spell the woman's face used to be able to see through the infinite worlds on the outer layer and directly into one of the worlds in the middle layer. This had already surpassed Gu Qingshan's imagination of how powerful she was. On the other side of the gate, fully armed personnel were still killing the Rakshasa captives one by one. Some of the armed personnel used their blades to decapitate the captive, while others used their rifles to take out the captives' heads one by one. Their efficiency was very low because their rifles could only fire one shot at a time, and both reloading and reloading had to be done manually, which was very inconvenient. Following the commander's order, a few nimble and agile personnel immediately stepped out of the ranks. They all took out bullets, reloaded their rifles, and aimed at the exit of the gate. Gu Qingshan once again noticed that the rifles these people were using were all very old. They were all very crude rifles, each of them could only load one bullet at a time. Suddenly, one of the rifles asked in a low voice, "Sir, how do we deal with them later? Do we need to kill them right away?" The officer replied, "No, you can't use your full power, I need to capture them alive," another rifle said. "Capture them alive? It'll be very difficult for the natives of this world to survive under our fire," the officer patiently explained. "No matter what, we still need to figure out what's going on with this space gate. This is supposed to be the final battle between them and our world, so Rakshasas shouldn't be sending anyone out. This was indeed a very strange matter, so they had to figure it out." "Very well," the rifles all replied. They let out a series of clicking noises, preparing for the final shot. Gu Qingshan looked at the enemies on the other side of the gate. He was completely stunned. He didn't think the White Fox's forces would be destroyed just like that. The White Fox was stronger than Cryptic Realm, the strongest existence Gu Qingshan had ever seen. But the White Fox was eaten by the woman's face. Its forces were destroyed by armed personnel using ancient firearms. This completely flipped Gu Qingshan's worldview on its head. "Trillion worlds, 900 million world layers," Gu Qingshan muttered and sighed. He suddenly had an epiphany. From now on, he could no longer use his fixed thinking to judge everything. Something like common sense had no need to exist in the face of countless worlds and civilizations of every description. Now, the world of the White Fox had been destroyed by an organization armed with ancient rifles. What was the point of painstakingly training for half a day? It would be better to just return to Shen Wu world. Gu Qingshan sighed again. "He didn't lie to you, but he's nothing but a country bumpkin from the Middle Plain. How could he know such things?" the woman scoffed. Then, Gu Qingshan was about to ask further. The woman cut him off and said, "Help me achieve my wish, then you can go see for yourself." "See what?" The truth of the world. Among the scrolls hovering above Gu Qingshan's head, one of them suddenly opened. A blinding screen of light enveloped Gu Qingshan. At some unknown point, a crystal-clear flower had appeared in his hand. As the woman stared at the flower in his hand, her expression became gentle. "Please deliver this flower to the crippled Bali. I hope he's well." The woman's voice became gentle. She had killed all the cultivators of the suspended world, but her tone right now carried a hint of her former tranquility and shyness. At this moment, she seemed to have returned to the past, to her teenage years. "I will definitely deliver it to him. I will convey your blessings to him." Gu Qingshan put the crystal-clear flower away and solemnly said, "She helped me a lot, so it's only fair for me to do something for her." Seeing his attitude, the woman nodded. The screen of light around Gu Qingshan abruptly expanded. Instantly, Gu Qingshan disappeared from the space vortex. The woman's face watched this scene quietly. It wasn't until Gu Qingshan was completely gone that she silently descended. She landed on the realm demon's body. The realm demon uttered a long call. The woman's expression warmed. "Hungry? So hungry. Everything's done. Mom will take you to the next world. You can continue to eat until you're full. Good, great." The realm demon's voice sounded a bit excited. A gentle yet persistent force pushed Gu Qingshan through the space vortex. He passed through an immeasurable amount of space vortex. Sometimes he would feel like he just broke through a thin piece of glass. Is this what it feels like to travel through a world layer? Gu Qingshan silently thought. Such a long distance had already surpassed the distance to the 100,000-year-old giant corpse's world. "What unimaginable power!" he exclaimed. In the void of space, many scenes flashed by his eyes. Living beings of all shapes and sizes could be seen everywhere in the space vortex. A group of humanoid creatures with glowing bodies held bows and arrows in their hands and kept shooting at the void. There was nothing in that area of nothingness, but screams and screams could be heard. As he flew through this area of nothingness, Gu Qingshan saw a group of flowers with legs. They circled around a huge head and danced excitedly. From the looks of it, this was some sort of ritual. The scenes flashed by. At a certain point, Gu Qingshan ran into something soft and bounced away. Arg! Suddenly, a shrill female voice cursed. Damn pervert! Impudent bastard! The force that carried Gu Qingshan circled around and quickly left that area. From this point on, Gu Qingshan's flying speed became faster and faster. Gu Qingshan couldn't help but shake his head. Billions of worlds, billions of civilizations, who can say for sure what he just ran into? He continued flying in a certain direction. At a certain point, he even saw the Tianma Empress who he once worked with to kill an enemy. It was a beautiful black-clothed girl. The girl was surrounded by layers of Tianma. They sang a beautiful song together as they flew toward a space that was radiating with brilliant light. As the black-clothed girl was singing, she sensed something. She abruptly looked up at the void of space. Her gaze met Gu Qingshan's. "It's you!" the black-clothed girl exclaimed in surprise. Gu Qingshan didn't have time to greet him. Like a blurred image, he flew through the void of space towards the end of the void. When the black-clothed girl was about to chase after him, he was already far away. So fast. With such speed, I wouldn't be able to catch up even if I used my secret technique. He must have used something special. The black-clothed girl was surprised. "You still owe me a world," she abruptly shouted. Chapter 540. Flying. Continuing to fly. During the long flight, Gu Qingshan kept an eye on his surroundings. There were too many strange sights, enough to make one's eyes blur. At one point, a burning beast head appeared in front of him. The beast gave off a ferocious presence that Gu Qingshan hadn't seen before. It stared closely at Gu Qingshan until they almost ran into each other before reluctantly moving away. Gu Qingshan was sure that it was about to pounce at him. I really don't know what method the true demon called Buttercup used to make these powerful monsters of the space vortex retreat. The long flight continued. A line of glowing text appeared on the war god UI. "You've left the world tomb, you've left the scattered worlds, you're currently at the 634-3234 layer of the outer plane, your time flow has been consolidated and unified. From now on, the amount of time you spend in any space will be the same," Gu Qingshan asked. "In other words, every hour I spend here is equal to 1 hour in reality, correct?" "That is correct. What do you mean by world tomb?" Gu Qingshan pursued. "The reality that you speak of, why do you call it that?" The system returned to silence and ignored Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan had no choice but to give up. He continued to fly towards the unknown world. Time slowly passed. Sometimes, the darkness of the universe would surround him. But after flying for a while, Gu Qingshan would feel that he was crashing into something. At this point, the universe would disappear, and Gu Qingshan would enter a new space. The space vortex would reappear. Or perhaps it wasn't the space vortex, but another dark universe. The change was disorderly, chaotic, and unpredictable. Whenever this happened, Gu Qingshan would know that he had entered another world. After an unknown amount of time, Gu Qingshan was blocked by a void. This void was so solid that Gu Qingshan couldn't break through it like before. Gu Qingshan silently floated in the dark void. The scroll above his head disappeared. Another scroll flew out and unfurled in the air. A compass was drawn on the scroll. The compass spun wildly and finally pointed in a certain direction that was slanted upwards. The location was confirmed. Then, another scroll unfurled. On the scroll was a beautiful pair of pink wings. The scroll disappeared. The wings emitted a pink glow and attached themselves to Gu Qingshan's back. "We're leaving," Feather said in a low voice. The pair of pink wings spread open and flapped. As it flapped, layers of pink light scattered into the void, making the person wearing this pair of wings seem to have an indescribably cute charm. But that was before. Gu Qingshan looked at the wings on her back and felt that something was wrong. "Can you change a color?" he couldn't help but ask. "Change a color?" The wings stopped briefly and doubtfully asked. "Yes, black or any other color is fine," the wings refused. "No way. This color of mine is a special collector's edition, a pair that can only be found in 300 million world layers. Wearing it will increase the favorability of the opposite sex. It's super rare, alright?" Gu Qingshan. Following the direction of the compass, the wings carried Gu Qingshan upwards. This pair of pink wings seemed to contain some sort of extraordinary power. She wasn't flying very fast, but with each flap of the wings, Gu Qingshan felt like she was traveling through an immeasurable amount of space. This was an indescribable feeling. Gu Qingshan thought of something and tapped her inventory bag to take out a square formation plate. A spatial locator formation plate. On this square formation plate, there were 8 markings in different directions. The cultivators of the suspended world used this formation plate to record the coordinates of other worlds outside of the void. It was said that in the age of old, the suspended world once obtained a formation plate and a book from the void. The book recorded how to use formations, as well as explaining that the 10 markings on the formation plate corresponded to the 10 worlds. But no matter how much the cultivators of the suspended world tried, they could only use 8 different directions to determine the coordinates of the other 2 worlds. They didn't even know how to use the other 2. As time went by, the spatial locator formation plate was only able to record 8 markings. As for the other 2 directions, the cultivators of the suspended world had already given up on them. Only a few formation masters would bother to study those 2 directions. Gu Qingshan looked at the spatial locator formation plate in her hand and held her breath. The pink wings spread out and slowly flapped once. Gu Qingshan's hand moved as fast as lightning, tapping the formation plate again and again. The formation plate gave off a bright light. In just a few moments, a coordinate had been recorded. The pink wings flapped again. As Gu Qingshan moved forward, she recorded a new coordinate. He looked at the formation plate. The formation plate that usually only had 8 markings now had 10 markings. 10 worlds. Gu Qingshan muttered in a low voice. The 10 worlds. This was a completely unknown location. This was something Gu Qingshan had never experienced before. He didn't know what was ahead of him, nor did he know what he would encounter next. The pink wings flapped again. Gu Qingshan used the formation plate to record the coordinates again. After a while of flying, Gu Qingshan put these coordinates together and compared them. He found that the difference between these coordinates had far surpassed the distance between Shen Wu world and the suspended world. From a vertical perspective, the pink wings were carrying him through an unimaginably long distance. How shocking! Gu Qingshan stared at the formation plate and muttered, "With just a pair of wings, he can travel through endless space. What kind of power would be needed to do that?" He turned his head to look at the pair of pink wings. The pink wings looked very cute, but when it was on Gu Qingshan's back, it felt a bit strange. His entire aura seemed to have changed. But that wasn't the main point. The main point was that the pink wings were flapping faster and faster. Gu Qingshan was traveling through endless space and time, flying diagonally upwards. At some unknown point, his direction had been adjusted to go straight up. A pink light was emitting from his body, enveloping him as he flew. Splash! At some point, Gu Qingshan felt himself falling into water. The pink wings stopped. Gu Qingshan hovered in the water, calmly observing his surroundings. As far as he could see, all he could see was light blue water. The water was pure and cool. Although Gu Qingshan couldn't breathe, it wasn't a big deal for a sainted realm cultivator like him. The problem was what to do now. While Gu Qingshan was thinking, a new scroll flew out. Poof! As soon as the scroll opened, something appeared in front of him. Before this thing could fly away, Gu Qingshan reached his hand out to grab it. It was a pink swimming ring. Holding the swimming ring, Gu Qingshan frowned helplessly. It was pink again. What a girly type. He now understood why the girl called Buttercup was deceived by Tian Shanyi. Perhaps 1,000 years ago, the girl was longing for a new world and went on a long journey for the first time. Thinking about what happened to Buttercup, Gu Qingshan's expression couldn't help but soften. The pink swimming ring in his hand was no longer as eye-catching. He already knew what he should do. Putting the swimming ring on his waist, Gu Qingshan waited for a while. Nothing happened. Just as he was feeling puzzled, he saw a note fly out from the pink swimming ring. There was something written on it. Gu Qingshan caught the note and seriously read it. To activate this magic device, please loudly chant the activation incantation. Activate, activate. As soon as Gu Qingshan read it, the note lightly jumped and flew back to the swimming ring, hiding somewhere unknown. Activate, activate. This incantation is a bit too girly. Looking at the endless flow of water around him, Gu Qingshan couldn't think of anything else. He could only chant. Activate, forgetting that he was in water. Gu Qingshan gulped down a mouthful of water as soon as he said that, making his voice muffled. Gu Qingshan quickly spat out the water. Looking at the swimming ring again, it didn't move at all. That can't be right. Gu Qingshan thought for a bit, then used spirit energy to separate the water and muttered, "Activate, activate." The pink swimming ring moved unwillingly. The note flew out again, hovering in front of Gu Qingshan. A single line was written on it. "Did you get dumped? Why are you so quiet? Did you not eat? Chanting an incantation is a crucial time to act cool. Can't you be a bit more passionate?" The note waved in front of him and flew back to him. Gu Qingshan froze for a bit. Passionate, holding the swimming ring with both hands, Gu Qingshan scowled. Thinking back to the first time the note flew out, it said, "Please loudly chant the incantation to activate." But if that's the case, I can do it. Gu Qingshan circulated the spirit energy in his dantian and shouted, "Activate, activate." The sound directly blew the water away, scattering it in every direction. The swimming ring started to shake. It gave off a bright light that swept across the entire water. A low voice came from the pink swimming ring. "This day has finally come. I've waited for 1,000 years. Now is the time for my revenge." From the sound of it, it seems to be very excited. "I've entered a fully awakened state, brat. Are you ready for the challenge?" Gu Qingshan hesitantly replied. "I accepted the mission, so of course I'm prepared." "Very well, let's begin now. What do you say?" the swimming ring asked. "Sure." Gu Qingshan shrugged. Chapter 541. In the still water, Gu Qingshan froze. "Why should I take it off?" he seriously asked. The pink swimming ring was surprised. "Of course, if you don't take it off, how are we going to accept the challenge? The deal was supposed to be about giving me something. How did it become about taking it off? And what challenge? This is completely different from what was discussed before. I need to understand the current situation first." Gu Qingshan's mind was quickly turning. For some reason, he suddenly thought of the weapon spirits he's met before. Among the weapon spirits, the ones that were divine armaments were usually the most reliable. Typical examples are Shanu, the wild raging flame armor, the forgetting river soul flaying hook, the Chao Yin sword. Although the earth sword has a sharp tongue, when it's serious, it's still very effective. Other than divine armaments, the other weapon spirits are very easy to let loose. For example, the small white bird, and a large number of Huang Quan machines. If that's the case, pardon me for asking, but what kind of challenge are we going to face? Gu Qingshan asked. The pink swimming ring sighed deeply. It spoke with a tone full of pressure. "It's been 1,000 years since I've competed against the superdimensional fashion industry. I don't know if my style can still surpass them." While saying so, the pink swimming ring flew up and spun in the air. It turned into a bikini. A pink bikini. It spun around in front of Gu Qingshan, hesitantly asking, I'm a bit worried about whether or not I can keep up with the current fashion trends. Do you think I look good? You look good, very well, please wear me. We're going to enter the super-dimensional world's fashion industry again. Wait a minute, Gu Qingshan quickly thought, what's a super-dimensional world? Ah, I forgot, you're a newcomer. The pink bikini suddenly understood. It spoke. There are a total of 900 million world layers in the outer plane, and within each world layer, there are trillions of worlds. You know this common sense, right? Gu Qingshan nodded. The pink bikini asked, how do you think the combatants of the other worlds go to other worlds? Using formation plates or teleportation formations. Gu Qingshan asked. That won't do. The pink bikini explained. You can use a formation plate to travel between two world layers that are right next to each other, but if there are a few more world layers in between, the distance will become very large and your formation plate won't be able to reach them. Then, should I use the pink wings on my back? That's a dumb idea, but it's also unrealistic to travel through the 900 million world layers. Why? There are countless secrets and unknown dangers hidden within a world layer. No one can guarantee that they will always be safe. Not to mention, people can't just fly from world layer to world layer without stopping, otherwise no one would be able to travel through the 900 million outer world layers until they die of old age, Gu Qingshan sharply asked. Then, the super-dimensional world is? The pink swimming ring continued. Within the 900 million world layers, there are a few unique worlds. That kind of world might have its own mission, or it might lead to some extremely special place, or it might be the private territory of some peerless expert. In short, these worlds can transcend the dimensions of time and space and connect to any surface world. Such a mystical place is called a super-dimensional world. Gu Qingshan seriously listened. He thought for a bit, then asked, so the place we're going to is a super-dimensional world? The pink bikini's voice became louder. Without a doubt, we're about to head to a famous super-dimensional world, Gu Qingshan understood. He stared at the excited pink bikini in front of him. The woman called Buttercup only wanted me to help her deliver something. She definitely wouldn't want me to help her take over some goddamn fashion industry. So this swimming ring is most likely a tool to travel to that world. However, it had its own unique dreams. Gu Qingshan hesitated a bit, then asked, you want to enter the super-dimensional world's fashion industry again? Of course. This is the time to fight. The pink bikini's voice was tense as she answered. You seem to have forgotten a crucial problem, Gu Qingshan said. The pink bikini immediately asked, what problem? Could it be that my upper body isn't perfect enough? It was circling around in front of Gu Qingshan. It's not your problem, it's just that. I'm a man, Gu Qingshan said. The pink bikini froze, not moving. It didn't say anything for a while. Gu Qingshan pointed at herself. I'm sorry, but I'm a man, haven't you noticed? You, who would have thought that a man like you would use a collector's pink wings? You pervert. Saying so, the pink bikini began to sob. Be a bit more polite. The pink wings on Gu Qingshan's back couldn't help but speak up. What's wrong with a man using pink? Pink is also the favorite color of some cute men. The pink bikini started to cry. Gu Qingshan stood there for a while, then felt that it wouldn't be good for him to just stand there and watch. He hesitantly tried to say something to comfort her. I say, Gu Qingshan suddenly found that she couldn't comfort a pink bikini. I don't have that skill. The pink bikini was still sobbing. There was water all around them, so Gu Qingshan couldn't tell if it was really crying or not. After thinking for a bit, Gu Qingshan tried asking, how about this, you take me to that super-dimensional world, I'll help you find a female master with a perfect figure so that you can once again challenge the fashion industry. What do you think? Really? The pink bikini stopped sobbing and raised its voice to ask. I don't usually lie to people, alright, it's a deal. The pink bikini's voice was full of passion again. It immediately turned back into a swimming ring and wrapped it around Gu Qingshan's waist. Super-dimensional world, we're coming! It shouted. The swimming ring took Gu Qingshan along with a stream of water. This was a strange world. The sky was filled with stars. The stars were reflected on the surface of the sea. The night wind blew. The tides silently moved. A man slowly floated to the surface of the sea. Standing on the surface of the sea, he circulated his spirit energy. Instantly, all the water on his body evaporated. His clothes and body became dry again. He looked around. A boundless sea. Other than that, there was nothing else. He took out a formation plate and was about to record the coordinate. No need to remember the coordinates, another voice came. The one who spoke was the pink swimming ring on Gu Qingshan's body. Why? Gu Qingshan asked. This world was created to travel to super-dimensional worlds. Once the passengers leave, this world will be destroyed. There's actually such a world? Gu Qingshan was in disbelief. Of course, super-dimensional worlds aren't that easy to reach. Some of them are even kept secret. Only those who meet certain requirements are allowed to enter. Because of that, there's a need for these one-time transfer worlds to exist. Gu Qingshan seriously listened, then finally asked. In other words, we're not too far away from a super-dimensional world. That's right, we've been traveling for a few days and nights now. We're almost there. The pink swimming ring sighed tiredly. I'm looking forward to it, Gu Qingshan said with a bit of anticipation. Of course. Of course. Who wouldn't be looking forward to it? The pink swimming ring's tone became excited. Chapter 542. At this point, the pink life buoy began to sing. Super-dimensional worlds, the world everyone desires. There are beauties from billions of worlds here, famous superstars of the world layers, wine you can't even imagine, combatants and civilizations you've never seen before. Charge into Angel Port. The angels won't let me in because I'm a pervert. Charge into Purgatory Town. The demons kick me out, they think I'm not bad enough. But that's fine, there are countless super-dimensional worlds. Let's go on an adventure together. It seemed to be singing about an adventure in a super-dimensional world, and it sounded quite good. After listening for a while, Gu Qingshan couldn't help but ask. It sounds like there are a lot of super-dimensional worlds, then which one are we going to? The pink life buoy's song stopped. You don't know either? Gu Qingshan tried asking. Only my master knows about this, the pink life buoy angrily replied. It flew up from Gu Qingshan's body and turned into a key. Use me and insert it into the void of space. The key said. Insert. Yes, we're currently inside this world's camouflage. You must enter the truth of this world to obtain a chance to go to a super-dimensional world. The key said. Gu Qingshan calmly replied. There were so many strange things that he was already used to it. Gu Qingshan held the key and reached into the void of space. Turn left 2.5 times. Got it, Gu Qingshan turned the key. A ripple appeared in the void of space. As the ripples spread out, a clear scene gradually appeared. Gu Qingshan found that he was still in the middle of an ocean. However, in the distance, a lighthouse suddenly appeared on the horizon. It was a black lighthouse. The lighthouse emitted a brilliant light that swept across the entire sea from time to time. Gu Qingshan took a closer look and found that he could faintly see a figure moving at the top of the lighthouse. The black lighthouse silently stood there. So familiar, as if I've seen him somewhere before, Gu Qingshan muttered. You've seen him before? That's impossible, the pink swimming ring said. Why not? This is the symbolic building of the Spire Keeper Association. They are responsible for connecting all super-dimensional worlds. Perhaps they are not the strongest, but they know the deepest secrets of the world. So powerful! That's right. That's why a visitor from a scattered world like you can't possibly come into contact with them. As he spoke, A scroll suddenly jumped out from Gu Qingshan's body. A compass. This time, it only needed to turn slightly to point at the lighthouse. Stop wasting time. Let's go, or we won't make it in time. The compass shouted. Long-winded. Before we depart, we need to disguise his personal strength. The pink swimming ring said. Why? Gu Qingshan asked. First law of the infinite worlds. Even if you are the strongest combatant of the infinite worlds, you can't let anyone know about you, so what if they do? There are hundreds of millions of world layers, countless living beings, countless civilizations and inheritances. There might be something among them that is your natural enemy that can completely counter you. I understand, Gu Qingshan nodded. While they were talking, a new scroll flew out, scattered into lines that circled around Gu Qingshan. The lines disappeared into the void of space. Gradually, a mystical fluctuation appeared around Gu Qingshan's body. This fluctuation was able to prevent others from detecting him to a certain degree. Gu Qingshan looked at the war god UI. A few lines of glowing text were already there. Shield of Power Concealment, High-Tier Concealment Tool, Duration. 3 days. Gu Qingshan then tried to walk towards the lighthouse. There seems to be something wrong with the space around him. He was clearly walking forward, but he was stuck in place, unable to move at all. The pink swimming ring laughed. You aren't their client, so you can't go. Saying so, it turned into a pink surfboard and appeared at Gu Qingshan's feet. Come, I'll take you there to break through the space's limit. All right, Gu Qingshan could only agree. He got on the surfboard. The surfboard immediately broke through the water's surface and headed towards the lighthouse. As they got closer, the lighthouse gradually became clearer in their line of sight. Gu Qingshan noticed that there was a small door at the bottom of the lighthouse. The surfboard was very fast. A few moments later, Gu Qingshan arrived in front of the small door. There were already a lot of people waiting here. These people were divided into several groups. All of them seemed very excited. Gu Qingshan silently paid attention to them, only to find that they were speaking in various languages that she couldn't understand. These people only whispered among themselves and did not disturb each other or the others. Not only couldn't she understand what they were saying, she couldn't even see their appearances. They all looked like black silhouettes, only their general appearances could be seen, but their true appearances were shrouded in darkness. No need to think too much. These are all people without permission to enter the super-dimensional world. They're only here to watch. The pink swimming ring replied. It turned back into a swimming ring. Why are their appearances shrouded in black silhouettes? Gu Qingshan asked in a low voice. Because these people only discovered this world at the last minute, none of them were accepted by the Spire, so they could only come here as void projections to satisfy their cravings. Then what about me? Am I also the same? Of course not, a scroll replied. The scroll jumped out from Gu Qingshan's body and slowly unfolded itself. There were many strange characters written on the scroll, as well as various seals and fingerprints. From a glance, this seemed to be a certificate. As soon as the scroll appeared, cries of admiration could be heard from all around. The certificate cleared its throat and loudly declared, ahem, Sir Guardian, please allow me to bring my people into the spire." Following its declaration, the gate in front of the spire suddenly opened. An old man wearing a purple robe and a pointy hat came out. The people around immediately parted to make a path for him. They all went silent and stared at the old man. No one made a single sound. The old man walked in front of Gu Qingshan, caught the certificate, and seriously checked it. There's no mistake, you've received 39 recommendations to study abroad." Saying so, the old man looked up at Gu Qingshan. "You can also go to the designated super-dimensional world once." "Thank you," Gu Qingshan said. "Please come with me." The old man gave the scroll back to Gu Qingshan, turned around and quickly returned. While walking, he muttered, "An unexpected temporary passenger. Fortunately, there are quite a few empty seats this time." Gu Qingshan followed the old man through the gate. Bam! The gate closed behind him. Sounds of admiration could be heard from outside. In the darkness, the old man clapped his hands. A cluster of flame floated over and hovered next to him. Before boarding, please allow me to check if you're carrying any dangerous items, the old man lazily said. Dangerous items? Gu Qingshan quickly recalled. I don't think I'm carrying anything dangerous. Please go ahead, he said. Seeing his reaction, the old man's expression also relaxed a bit. Light of wisdom, the old man muttered. The cluster of flame turned into a warm ball of light that illuminated Gu Qingshan's surroundings. At first, nothing happened. When the old man and Gu Qingshan both relaxed, a metal seal suddenly appeared in front of the cluster of flame. All the light from the flame converged into a single beam, shining on the seal. The pattern on the metal seal glowed brightly under the light. Chapter 543. The old man's gaze had already become sharp. He raised all 10 of his fingers, as if preparing to do something. But as soon as he saw this metal seal, the old man froze. His hands also stopped moving. Strange, why would you have something that belongs to us, spire keeper? The old man muttered. He looked at Gu Qingshan with a strange expression. Looking at the seal, Gu Qingshan recalled what happened on his way to Huangquan. He explained, I once saved someone. No, that shouldn't be considered saving, since someone gave me this seal anyways. In the dark tunnel, that person still died in the end. But from the look of it, he seemed to be glad about that. He seemed to have a spare body in another world. Hearing Gu Qingshan's words, the old man was even more confused. The old man took out a seal and showed it to Gu Qingshan. Look, this is my seal. It's exactly the same as yours, so can I examine yours? Gu Qingshan glanced at the seal, confirming that it was exactly the same. If that's the case, that person really did mention that he was a member of the Spire Keeper Association. Gu Qingshan replied. Go ahead, thank you. The old man picked up Gu Qingshan's seal and carefully examined it under the light of the flame. Dispelling the false and retaining the true, he muttered. The flame quickly descended and enveloped the seal. After a brief moment of intense burning, the flame faded away. But the seal was completely unharmed, glowing in the darkness. This is the real deal. Saying so, the old man's tone became serious. Since he was able to obtain this seal, he's the keeper's benefactor, so I can't use rude methods to examine him. With that in mind, the old man gracefully bowed and asked, Pardon me for asking, but what exactly happened? If you're willing to tell me where this seal came from, I'll repay you. At this point, a young man ran down the stairs of the spire. Teacher, all the guests have arrived, it's time to set sail, the young man hurriedly reported. You go up first. Let them wait, the old man said simply. The young man looked at the old man, then looked at Gu Qingshan, then turned around and left helplessly. Gu Qingshan took this opportunity to think back. Back then, he was trying to save someone. Coupled with the old man's current attitude, it didn't seem like it was a big deal to tell him what happened back then. Gu Qingshan organized her thoughts and explained what had happened. When the old man heard this, he looked at the metal seal again. Verify, he said. The metal seal immediately emitted a soft light that enveloped Gu Qingshan. The old man nodded with a smile on his face. He returned the seal to Gu Qingshan. So it's the benefactor of our association. As the old man spoke, he stretched out his hand and pulled forcefully in the void. A miniature bookshelf appeared out of thin air. However, there were only 3 books on the shelf. Their covers were red, yellow, and blue. The samsara world itself is a unique existence, and the dark tunnel is one of the most deserving places to explore. They show us the miraculous world of the samsara, as well as the unimaginable cycle structure, the old man casually explained. In front of the demon lord's modified weapons, although the association's scholars possess wisdom that far surpasses that of normal people, they are still the most fragile of existences. We've always been worried that their souls would be taken away, but you've saved the soul of a great scholar. This is very commendable." Saying so, the old man pushed the miniature bookshelf in front of Gu Qingshan. "Please pick one out of these 3 books as my reward for your bravery." Gu Qingshan glanced at the 3 books. There was nothing special about the 3 books, they all appeared to be thick books, but the covers were different. "That's too expensive, and I didn't do anything at all," he politely refused. "That's fine, please choose one. You're a friend of our spire's guardian. If you refuse, you'll only make things difficult for us." The old man smiled and said. Gu Qingshan didn't refuse anymore and said, "But I don't know what these 3 books are for. If you don't mind me asking, I can see that your killing intent is quite extraordinary. You should be someone who's killed billions of living beings," the old man carefully said. "That's right," Gu Qingshan nodded. "In hell, when the dead were disobedient, he once killed every single villain in hell to deter them." Seeing how calm he was, the old man also relaxed his tone. "The book with the red cover records a few famous divine skills of the 300 million world layers. If you're willing, you can take this book with you right now." Gu Qingshan glanced at the book with the red cover. After a bit of thought, he looked at the other 2 books. Since these 3 books were placed side by side, the other 2 must also be quite decent. Seeing him looking at the other 2 books, the old man understood. He pointed at the yellow cover book and introduced it. "Traveling across infinite worlds has always been a lonely thing, and since you've come here alone, I don't know if you have a girlfriend or not, so I took the liberty to prepare this yellow summoning book for you." "Summoning book?" Gu Qingshan was surprised. "That's right, this book records the contact information of beautiful girls. You can summon them as companions for a certain period of time to chat, travel, fight, or do other interesting things with them. Of course, all of these have already been paid in advance, so there's no need for financial disputes." A total of 97 peerless beauties, they usually travel across the 600 million world layers. Each of them has an uncountable number of fans who wish to catch a glimpse of their beauty. These ladies have all signed a contract with our spire, willing to accompany our guests on a wonderful journey, the old man pridefully declared. Listening to the old man's introduction, Gu Qingshan's gaze moved towards the last book. A blue cover book. Seeing this, the old man continued to introduce. "As for the last book with a blue cover, it's used for communication." "What do you mean?" "I saw that you only know a single obscure human language, so I prepared this infinite world's common dictionary. As long as you hold it in your hand, it will tell you all the languages that we currently know. There are too many languages in the 900 million world layers, so it would take you about 100 breaths worth of time to learn a few billion languages. Then, please pick one of them, sir," the old man concluded. Gu Qingshan's gaze scanned through the 3 books. He suddenly recalled the various languages that he heard from the crowd outside the spire. "None of them I understand." With that in mind, Gu Qingshan took out the blue cover book without hesitation. "Thank you for your kindness, sir. I'll accept this book." Gu Qingshan politely expressed his gratitude. As he held the book in his hand, a series of whispers came out from it. After listening for a bit, Gu Qingshan felt that he naturally understood a few dozen languages. "How miraculous," Gu Qingshan muttered. The old man's expression changed a bit, but a hint of praise appeared in his eyes. "Why didn't you choose the other 2?" he asked. "Communication between living beings is the hardest thing to do. Many times, as long as we can understand each other, many things will become simple," Gu Qingshan replied. The old man nodded again and again, saying, "That is indeed the case. This blue cover book was a great invention that our spire's scholars spent all of their efforts to create. This infinite world's common dictionary is an extremely precious item in the outside world, enough to buy an entire world layer without a problem. Of course, this book can only be used by a single person." Gu Qingshan was shocked and couldn't help but ask, "It's that expensive?" "A world layer. There are trillions of worlds in a single world layer," the old man pridefully replied. "Just as you said, many peerless combatants would only realize the importance of language after they left their own world. They can't even communicate with others. That's the most painful thing. There are language books for sale in every world layer, even superdimensional worlds, but the one that knows the most languages is definitely this blue cover book of our Spire Keeper Association, Gu Qing Shan added. And the most expensive, the old man laughed. You get what you pay for, that's only natural. Gu Qing Shan also smiled. He was actually thinking about something else. The Spire Keeper Association was able to collect so many languages from trillions of world layers. Just how much power does that require? Compared to that, what are those so-called peerless combatants? Seeing that Gu Qing Shan had chosen Infinite Worlds Common Dictionary, the old man put the other two books away. He led Gu Qing Shan up the steep stairs all the way to the top of the spire. From here, one could see the entire sky and the ocean. 3 passengers were already waiting here. Seeing the new passengers, the 3 of them couldn't help but look over. Teacher, it's already past time. The young man came out from the side. It's fine, destroy the world now. Yes, the young man took out a hand grenade. He pulled out the pin on the grenade, raised his hand, and threw it into the vast sea. The young man glanced at his pocket watch. The world will be destroyed in 100 breaths worth of time, he reported. Very well, we'll start the ship now. You go get ready, the old man said. Yes, the young man accepted his order and left. Chapter 544. I need to get back to work. Esteemed guest, please wait here for a moment. The ship will be here soon. The old man smiled and said. Go ahead. Gu Qing Shan clasped his fist. The old man nodded and quickly disappeared. Gu Qing Shan looked at the 3 passengers. Among them, the most eye-catching one was the black-robed man who was hovering in the air, giving off the presence of light. Although the black-robed man was doing his best to suppress his power fluctuations, the void of space around him was still resonating with him. It was as if a single order from him would be able to move the entire world around him. This was the power of demis. Demis were born with the support of all living beings. In other words, this was a divinity. He was a descendant of the old gods. Gu Qing Shan's heart skipped a beat. Who would have thought I'd run into a divinity here? The black-robed divinity was standing at the edge of the balcony, carefully keeping his distance from the other 2 passengers. Is the demi afraid? Gu Qing Shan's gaze turned to the other 2 passengers. It was a red-crowned rooster and a submachine gun. That's right, a machine gun. At least it looked like a machine gun. Ahahaha, did you know? Last time, I was so excited that I danced around in our world layer that I ended up attracting 3 space monsters. The red-crowned rooster's spit was flying everywhere as he excitedly spoke. Gu Qing Shan stood on one side and listened. The language of Jurassic Forest world. Such a concept suddenly popped up in his mind. Strange, why do I know this? Gu Qing Shan looked down. The Infinite Worlds Language Proficiency Handbook was still whispering in his hand. It was now that Gu Qing Shan understood. The red-crowned rooster was speaking in a different language. If it was him from before, he wouldn't even know what it was saying. Seems like the blue book is working. 100 breaths to understand the language of the infinite world. What kind of method is this? Only he, the owner of this blue book, can hear its voice. It will help Gu Qing Shan learn the languages of all civilizations. Gu Qing Shan held the book tightly, continuing to learn new languages while listening to the conversation between the rooster and the machine gun. Let me tell you, octopus space monsters are actually very, very delicious, but not many chefs know how to make them. Is that so? How unfortunate, I haven't eaten those space monsters yet. The machine gun sounded a bit disappointed. Why? Space monsters should be easy to catch, the big rooster doubtfully said. As long as I make a move, no matter what it is, it will be completely destroyed. It won't be able to eat it at all. The assault rifle sighed. What you usually to eat? Grow something to eat or go to a bar, restaurant, or club to eat and drink, the submachine gun said. Grow some food or go, the big rooster said. He looked around and glanced at the machine gun. You to God, he said. It lowered its voice and said, "By the way, have you ever eaten a god?" The submachine gun said regretfully, "It's the same for deities. They'll turn into ashes with just a touch from me. Sigh, I really don't have the fortune to eat them. I only used a 10,000th of my power, but I still couldn't make the enemy leave a corpse." "How pitiful of you," the big rooster said sympathetically. "How pitiful," the big rooster said sympathetically. While talking, they both looked at the demi at the same time. The demi was confused, but instinctively moved a bit further away from them. "Look at that, a country bumpkin who hasn't even passed the language test. He doesn't even know what we're talking about," the big rooster scoffed. The machine gun suddenly said, "There's also a brat here, but he was personally brought here by the spire's guardian." One rooster and one gun looked at Gu Qing Shan. Gu Qing Shan smiled and greeted them. "Nice to meet you too." The big rooster and the machine gun were surprised. They were speaking in Jurassic World's language. "This brat can actually understand us?" They both had the same thought. "Nice to meet you." The big rooster switched to another world's language and spoke. The machine gun also switched to another world's language. He used the same greeting tone, but asked a different question. "What's your name?" At first glance, both of these questions sounded like greetings. But in reality, the meaning of these two questions were completely different. Gu Qing Shan spoke to the big rooster. "Nice to meet you, I'm Gu Qing Shan." He then spoke to the machine gun. The big rooster whistled. The other party's pronunciation of both languages was very accurate. The big rooster smiled. "We were just talking about food, Gu Brat. Do you know anything about this?" "I usually make my own food, and make my own liquor as well," Gu Qing Shan replied. "Ah, seems like you're quite skilled." The big rooster was intrigued. He didn't seem to be more than 20 years old. To be able to speak so many languages at such a young age, as well as being personally escorted by the spire's guardian, how could he possibly be someone with a simple background? At this point, a large ship slowly flew in from outside the lighthouse. The ship was hovering right next to the lighthouse, hovering in the air. The old man from the Spire's Guardian Association was standing at the bow of the ship. "Passengers, please board the ship immediately. We are about to depart." The big rooster lightly leapt up and landed on the deck. The machine gun also slowly leapt forward and boarded the ship. Gu Qing Shan boarded the ship as usual. It wasn't until everyone else had boarded that the black-cloaked demi quickly boarded the ship. This demi was giving off a sense of nervousness. "Go, dash," the old man loudly ordered. The ship shook and slowly left the lighthouse, flying towards the sky. Gu Qing Shan stood at the edge of the deck, looking down at the ocean. The entire ocean was trembling intensely. At some unknown point, the lighthouse had already disappeared. The black shadows that surrounded the lighthouse had also disappeared. Boom! The world began to collapse. This was a very familiar scene, as Gu Qing Shan had just experienced it. He sighed. The four passengers stared at the collapsing world without saying a word. A few moments later, the ship flew into the space vortex, leaving that world behind. The big rooster and the machine gun didn't care about this at all. They seemed to have gotten used to this kind of journey. The machine gun pulled the big rooster to ask what an octopus-shaped space monster smelled like. The big rooster slowly described the monster's smell. The black-cloaked demi stared closely at the old man, as if waiting for something. Sure enough, the old man turned around and faced the four passengers. "Everyone, we have set out, please pay the fare." He spoke gently and politely. The big rooster took out a chest full of gems from somewhere and tossed it over with a flap of his wings. As the old man caught the chest, he didn't open it, only weighed it in his hand a bit before putting it away. "Thank you for your patronage," the old man said. The machine gun began to shake intensely on the spot. "Ah!" It let out a cry of ecstasy. Clink clank. A bullet with a metallic luster fell on the deck. "Is it enough?" the machine gun breathlessly asked. The old man waved his hand and caught the bullet in his hand, carefully observing it. A few moments later, the old man looked up and respectfully spoke. This is top-notch. There's still enough left to pay for this trip. Please wait a moment, I'll give you the change, the machine gun generously replied. No need, please help me prepare a barrel of tower liquor in my room. The rest will be your tip. Very well, thank you for your generosity, the old man smiled. Following that, the black-cloaked demi also took out a luxurious small bag and gave it to him. The old man received the bag and lightly shook it. A few clanking noises came from inside the bag. The old man scowled. That's not enough, the black-cloaked demi gasped. He paused, as if hesitating about what to do. The old man's expression became even worse. Please wait a moment. Saying so, the black-cloaked demi searched his body for a while before taking out a small, intricate bag. He sighed and reluctantly handed over the bag. The old man received the bag and casually shook it. His frown slowly loosened as he spoke. Just enough, thank you for your patronage. Hearing that, the black-cloaked demi sighed in relief as if he was granted amnesty. Chapter 545. The 3 passengers had already paid the fare, so it was now Gu Qingshan's turn. A scroll flew out from Gu Qingshan's body, hovered in the air, and turned into a heavy bag of money. This was the fare that Buttercup had already prepared. The bag of money spun in the air and flew back to the old man. The old man flicked the bag of money with his finger. The bag of money was sent flying back. Gu Qingshan caught the bag of money and asked in confusion, "Why?" The old man shook his head. "You are a friend of our spire's guardian, so the fare for this trip is free." The other 3 passengers looked at Gu Qingshan in surprise. "I can't believe it, the spire has always been made of iron, yet they're still able to enjoy a free day like this," the big rooster muttered in a low voice. The machine gun silently nodded. Where exactly did this brat come from? How did he become friends with the spire's guardian? "Thank you," Gu Qingshan said. "You're welcome, we're more than happy to serve you," the old man smiled and said. Gu Qingshan put the heavy bag of money away. This money was a bonus. After dealing with the fare, the old man told the 4 passengers, "Following this, I will be bringing you to your rooms to rest. When you arrive at your destination, I will notify you." He took out a small notebook, flipped through it as he led the 4 of them to their rooms. After a while, the old man stopped in front of a door and pushed it open. He seemed to have used a spell to activate something. The old man read from the notebook, "Passengers going to the pit of purgatory, please rest in this room." The black-cloaked demi came out. "How long can I stay there?" he hesitantly asked. The old man replied, "That will depend on your own capabilities. I think it's best if you don't even go." The black-cloaked demi didn't say anything and went in. Bam! He slammed the door shut. "An uneducated divinity," the big rooster complained. "The purgatory pit. Looks like this guy wants that thing. Does the tower not care about it?" The submachine gun asked. "If we have to worry about ants of this level, we will overwork ourselves to death," the old man said calmly. Rooster laughed. The old man continued to lead the remaining 3 passengers forward. They came to another door. "Passengers heading for the White Elephant Mountain Range, please rest in this room." The old man read from the little book. He reached out and pressed the door again. "White Elephant Mountain Range. It's a wonderful resort. Buddy, you really know how to enjoy life," the rooster exclaimed exaggeratedly. The submachine gun stood up and said, I've been too tired recently. My shoulders and neck are having problems. I need to go relax." "I'm guessing there are a lot of beautiful ladies there, aren't there?" the big rooster said. "If I were 200 million years younger, I might still be interested in ladies, but now I just want to relax," the submachine gun said. "How many days?" "They gave me a 6-day tourist permit," the submachine gun said. 6 days. What a long holiday. You have my contact, we'll meet again, the big rooster sincerely said. "See you later." The submachine gun jumped into the room. The door slowly closed. The old man continued to lead the remaining 2 passengers forward. While walking, the big rooster suddenly told Gu Qingshan, Brat, I'm telling you, that gun is a sanctimonious pervert. Ah? Why do you say that? Gu Shan asked. White Elephant Mountain Range, ah ha ha ha, the big rooster coldly laughed. At this point, the old man turned around. He looked at the big rooster with a knowing smile. That's right, White Elephant Mountain Range, the old man followed. Seeing the ambiguous expressions of the man and the chicken, Gu Shan roughly understood what they were trying to say. The three of them came to the next door. The next passenger. Your destination is a bull, please enter and rest for a bit, I will call you when you arrive, the old man said. He pressed on the door again. The door opened. Very well, I'll be troubling you. The big rooster raised its head high and proudly walked into the room. As if remembering something, he turned to ask Gu Shan, Brat, what do you think of a bull? Seeing its prideful expression, Gu Shan praised. I think you're different from the other two passengers, your taste is much more elegant and admirable. Listening to her, the big rooster slowly smiled in satisfaction. That's right, a bull, I'll be staying there for half a month. I've already received permission to stay there. Congratulations, that kind of place is worthy of you, Gu Shan commented. You're absolutely right. The big rooster appeared very happy. That's a vacation spot that only a rooster with true taste would go to, White Elephant Mountain Range, TSK TSK TSK. The big rooster flapped his wings and threw a small piece of paper to Gu Shan. I like sweet talkers like you, noble little smarties. This is the contact information of a friend of mine's daughter, consider it my personal gift to you, I hope you can become good friends with her. Very well, I'm going to rest now, have a good trip as well. The big rooster tilted his head and gracefully bowed. He lightly closed the door. The old man brought Gu Shan to the last door. Let me see the super-dimensional world you're going to. He flipped through the small book in his hand, then his expression became strange. It's that stupid club. The old man looked at the book, then at Gu Shan. You'll be staying there for an hour, he said. Gu Shan's eyebrows twitched. I'll be staying in a super-dimensional world for such a short amount of time? On second thought, Little Butterfly had only asked him to help deliver an item and pass on a message, which means 1 hour is more than enough. While Gu Shan was thinking that, the war god Ui suddenly changed. A streak of light flashed across the war god Ui, turning into lines of blood-red text in the middle. Break the shackles of fate, change history that has already been decided. User Gu Shan has entered the Destiny quest. Quest description: for any living being, it is extremely rare for them to have a chance to touch a super-dimensional world. Right now, right here, is the best chance you'll ever have in your life. Quest objective: you must think of a way to stay in the Justice Iron Fist Club. If the quest succeeds, you'll learn a secret. If the quest fails, you'll receive a new title. The One Who Missed Fate. After skimming through the entire quest, Gu Shan was about to silently ask a question in his mind. But 2 lines of text appeared on the war god UI. Description: please do not ask about the secret beforehand. Description: please do not ask about the new titles function beforehand. I can only tell you that you definitely don't want to receive this title. Gu Shan could only give up on asking. He looked at the old man. The old man was still standing there. The old man seemed to have remembered something as his eyes showed a bit of a smile. You seem to have remembered something interesting? Gu Shan asked. I'm sorry, I just remembered something about the lame Bali. The old man apologized. He quickly pressed a button on the door. The door opened. Gu Shan didn't go in right away. Buttercup asked Gu Shan to deliver something to the lame Bali to thank him for his kindness all those years ago. Gu Shan also received a destiny quest, so she had to think of a way to stay there. Pardon me for asking, but can you share that interesting thing with me? Gu Shan hesitantly asked. It would be great if she could take this chance to understand this lame Bali guy a bit. Why can't I? The old man replied. He appeared nostalgic and said, the lame Bali, while saving a certain world, he found out that he forgot to bring his weapon. He could forget that? Gu Qingshan was surprised. He claimed that he forgot to bring it. The old man spoke mysteriously, but the truth of the matter is questionable. How could such a thing be hidden from our spire? Can you tell me the truth? The old man lowered his voice. Before the battle, Bali was at a certain concert. He was too immersed in the atmosphere at the time and got too excited, so he threw his weapon on the stage. After that, Bali went to save a world, right at the moment when the war was about to erupt, facing countless demons and monsters. He found that his weapon was missing. Chapter 546. Gu Qingshan didn't expect the crippled Bali to be such a person. Such a person probably doesn't even know what he's going to do. It's even harder for others to guess what he's going to do. Gu Qingshan felt a bit troubled. "Thank you for sharing it," he told the old man. "It's nothing, just a bit of gossip," the old man smiled. "Then I'll rest now. I'll call you when we get there." "Very well, thank you." The two of them said their goodbyes. Gu Qingshan entered his room and closed the door. Too many things have happened recently, all of which were unexpected, so he needed a quiet environment to slowly sort them out. He glanced around. There was nothing in the entire room. In this enclosed space, never mind a single lamp, there wasn't even the most basic of furniture. This was an empty room. Gu Qingshan was stunned. An organization like the Spire Keeper Association shouldn't be able to provide such a simple place to stay. While he was thinking, a candle was lit in the darkness. The candle hovered in the air, hovering in front of Gu Qingshan. A gentle female voice resounded in the room. "Welcome, esteemed guest. Your race is human. Currently using the law of origin recollection to extract the most relaxing environment for you." The voice disappeared. 1 breath, 2 breath, 3 breath. The female voice came again. "Discovered the most relaxing environment for you are as follows. First, Rainbow Bar. Second, first room on the second floor of the Federation's mountaintop mansion. First room on the east. Third, by Hua Sek's Orchid Hall. Fourth, Free Federation slums, 5 Th Street's Relief Building, 22nd floor, room 2203. Please select the environment of your choice to ensure a comfortable journey." Gu Qingshan stood still and thought for a while. 5th Street, he tried saying. "Very well, the environment has been determined. Your journey and facilities will be provided by the Spire Keeper Association. I wish you a pleasant journey." The female voice went silent. The candle also went out. The room returned to darkness. But something seemed to have changed. Gu Qingshan released her inner sight again to observe the entire room. It was a narrow, rectangular room. There was no living room, bedroom, or kitchen in the room. There was only enough space for a bed and a cabinet. Everything else had to be piled up on the side. There wasn't even a bathroom. A lone chandelier hung from the ceiling, its broken tube covered in dust. This kind of living environment was considered inferior in the slums of the Federation. Gu Qingshan stared at her room. He stood there for a while, as if trying to recall something. The room was silent, as if waiting for him. It wasn't until a faint glimmer of light appeared in the room that Gu Qingshan sighed. He went to the window and looked out. The surroundings were filled with dark skyscrapers, and there were only sporadic lights on the upper floors. This was a slum. Electricity was a precious thing, and people here were used to conserving electricity. He cast his gaze into the distance. In the distance, the capital's business district and administrative district were brightly lit. Gu Qingshan was stunned for a moment. A few memories from a long time ago appeared in his mind. The scenes of his childhood and youth surfaced in his mind. Growing up alone. This word, in the mouth of some people, is nothing but a way to show off their personality and appearance. But for Gu Qingshan, this word represented the true sense of loneliness and bitterness. He was an orphan. He had to rely on himself for everything. Gu Qingshan turned around and walked to the end of the bed. With a casual touch, a bottle of low-quality liquor appeared in his hand. Sure enough, he was in a familiar place. This was the lowest quality distilled liquor, only 5 credits per bottle, a favorite of the slums. The glass bottle was filled with transparent liquor. The wrapping paper on the outside of the bottle had been rubbed a little, and the words on it had become blurred. He had kept this bottle for over half a year, preparing to open it on his birthday. Even such a small detail perfectly matched his memory. The Spire Keeper Association's power is truly magical. No wonder that Demi was so worried about the lack of money for the ship. Gu Qingshan opened the bottle without hesitation. He raised the bottle and gulped it down. Strong. Bitter. A sense of uneasiness rose in his chest and lingered there. Although it was low-quality liquor, it was filled with memories from a long time ago, giving Gu Qingshan a feeling he hadn't felt for a long time. Recalling the past, Gu Qingshan couldn't help but shake his head. Taking one sip after another, he drank more than half of the bottle. Out of curiosity, Gu Qingshan walked to the side of the bed and lifted up the cover. Charcoal, a long barbecue box, strands of wire used to skewer meat, as well as various seasonings were neatly stacked. This was what Gu Qingshan used to earn his school fees. He was quite talented in cooking and mixing drink. In other words, he had outstanding intuition when it came to the creation of taste bud. He was 1 in 100. When he was a teenager, the Freedom Federation's gourmet compilation once recorded his recipe for roasting beef ribs. This was the Federation's highest-ranking gourmet evaluation system. For this, Impartial Goddess rewarded him with 2 merit. At the time, Gu Qingshan was only 15 years old. At this age, people of the same age were still daydreaming. But Gu Qingshan was already able to set up a black market stall and become an independent chef in the food industry. If he wasn't so obsessed with mechs and dreaming of going to university, he would have already become a top-tier chef. Gu Qingshan lit up the charcoal and began to prepare the barbecue utensils. He then tapped his inventory bag to take out some meat, fruits and vegetables, carefully processed them before skewering them on the wire. A few minutes later, Gu Family Barbecue Stall opened for business again. The endless stream of customers from before had all disappeared. This time, both the owner and the customer were alone. Wait, a beautiful figure appeared from the void of space and silently landed next to Gu Qingshan. Shanu. Isn't Gongzi a sword cultivator? You even know how to cook? Shanu noticed Gu Qingshan's movements and asked in surprise. Swordsmanship is the way to kill enemies. Cooking is the way to make a living, Gu Qingshan replied. Just like before, he carefully brushed the sauce, added the spices, and kept track of the time to turn the skewers. These ingredients came from the cultivation world that was rich in resources, so they contained spirit essence, and after being carefully processed by Qin Shaolu, they were already top-notch delicacies. After Gu Qingshan's cooking, the first skewer of meat was already giving off an enticing aroma. Gu Qingshan picked it up and gave it to Shanu. Have a taste of my skills. Shanu's figure turned from illusory to solid. She had turned from a sword spirit into a human girl. After experiencing the all beings equal several times, Shanu had fully grasped the mystery of turning into a human. She took the skewer of barbecued meat, put it in front of her nose and sniffed it before eating. How fragrant, Shanu sighed emotionally. While eating, Shanu curiously looked around the room. Gongzi, is this where you used to live? Yes, very simple, Shanu commented. When I lived here, there were times when I couldn't even eat, so there were times when Gongzi was in such a sorry state. Shanu smiled and asked. At this point, Gu Qingshan had finished cooking another skewer of kidney. He began to taste it. Fragrant. At the same taste, Gu Qingshan slowly smiled. He picked up the bottle of distilled liquor and took a sip. Liquor and barbecue were an eternal match. After that, Gu Qingshan forgot about everything else and immersed himself in cooking skewers. Finally, he washed his hands, made some soup, and shared it with Shanu. The soup is also very good. While drinking, Shanna glanced at Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan was confused. What's the matter? If one day, you don't have to fight anymore, will Gongzi open a restaurant? Why not? Gu Qingshan smiled and asked. If the apocalypse is over, you won't have to fight anymore. You're wrong. Where am I wrong? I've always been thinking of ways to become stronger. I won't stop for anything. But if all the demons are gone, there's no meaning in preparing for battle anymore. Shanu was confused. Shanu, think about the people of the suspended world. Shanu thought about it for a bit and spoke with lingering fear. I was wrong. It turns out the human heart is even scarier than the demons. Her beautiful face was shrouded in a layer of worry. Gu Qingshan glanced at her and smiled. There's no need to be so pessimistic. The human heart can be very bad at times, but it can also be very good at times. For example, 100 trillion dead people chose to spend their merit to protect the human realm at the very last moment. Shanu nodded and fell into thought. After a while, her frown slowly loosened. Gu Qingshan raised the bowl of soup in his hand and slowly finished it. After enjoying such a wonderful dinner, his tense mind finally loosened up a bit. Forming a hand seal to draw some water, he washed all the utensils clean, put them away according to how they were placed before, then washed his own hands. Only now did Gu Qingshan sit down on his bed. While regulating his breathing, he was also thinking about recent events. He thought that after dealing with the suspended world, he would be able to return to the cultivation world. Who knew so many unexpected things would pop up out of nowhere? The super-dimensional world, seems like I need to rethink my understanding of the world. Gu Qingshan thought for a few short moments, and then he fell asleep. Shanu listened to his long and steady breathing and silently observed his sleeping appearance. She turned around and turned into a sword that hovered in the middle of the room. Chapter 547. Gongzi, wake up, a female voice called out. Gu Qingshan opened his eyes. Everything around him was still the slums where he lived during his youth and childhood. Shanu sat on the edge of the bed, looking at him with concern. I'm sorry, I accidentally fell asleep. How long did I sleep for? 1 day and 1 night, that long? Gu Qingshan was surprised. You're too tired. How do you feel right now? Shanu asked. Gu Qingshan carefully checked his current state. His spirit was high, all the tiredness in his body had been swept away. After this near-selfless slumber, he had recovered very well. And now, he was back to his peak state. Not bad, it was a good rest, but I'm a bit hungry. Saying so, Gu Qingshan stood up and stretched. What do you want to eat? He asked Shanu. Shanu had already tasted Gu Qingshan's cooking, so when she heard his question, she smiled. What are you smiling about? I heard that in human society, it's usually the women who are responsible for cooking at home, while the men are responsible for making a living outside. Times have changed, men have to take care of themselves now. All right then, Gongzi, I think yesterday's soup was quite good, then let's have some soup, and something else. Saying so, Gu Qingshan tapped his inventory bag and put a portion of spirit cooking in front of Shanu. Shanu tried it and couldn't help but exclaim, It's so good! This was the spirit cooking that Qin Xiaolu had already prepared. Qin Xiaolu's spirit cooking was also quite good, not to mention his knowledge in brewing wine. When he and Gu Qingshan were together, they had an endless amount of things to talk about. Recalling Qin Xiaolu, Gu Qingshan smiled. Of course, this spirit cooking isn't something that normal people can make. Shanu couldn't help but ask. Didn't Gongzi make this? My senior brother made it. No wonder. Shanu was surprised. Then you're both from the same culinary school? That's not it, you eat first. I'll wash my hands and make soup. As Gu Qingshan spoke, she started to get busy. How long until we reach that Justice Iron Fist Club? Shanu asked while eating. This spirit food tastes really good. Shanu felt that her decision to follow Gongzi at the time was extremely worth it. Before Gu Qingshan could reply, another voice replied. This journey will last for 5 days. After 5 days, you will arrive at the Justice Iron Fist Club. Gu Qingshan was stunned. 5 days. For him, this was not a short period of time. More importantly, after embarking on his journey to the super-dimensional world, his flow of time had become unified. The amount of time he spent here was equivalent to the amount of time that had passed in the real world. From his current understanding of the world, that world could no longer be called the real world. Because of the infinite worlds of the 900 million world layers, all of them were real. The system called Gu Qingshan's original world the World Tomb, but didn't tell Gu Qingshan why it was called that. With that in mind, Gu Qingshan worriedly spoke. We'll be gone for a bit too long this time. I hope nothing bad will happen to our original world. It would take 5 days to reach the Justice Iron Fist Club. After that, he would have to think of a way to stay at the club. I really don't know when I'll be able to return. Shanna consoled him. Don't worry, Gongzi, after the two worlds fuse, the power of all living beings will increase, everything will be on the right track. Thinking about it, Gu Qingshan also calmed down. You're right, maybe when we return, someone will have already broken through to Rejuvenation Realm. 5 days passed in a flash. The sound of knocking came. Sorry to bother you, we're almost at your destination, the old man's voice came from outside. Yes, Gu Qingshan replied. Shanu turned back into a sword and was put into Gu Qingshan's thought sea. He got up, went to the door, and opened it, only to see the old man standing outside. Are you satisfied with our room? The old man asked. I'm very satisfied, it's been a long time since I've been this relaxed. Gu Qingshan sincerely thanked him. Hearing him say that, the old man smiled. That's good to hear. The old man brought Gu Qingshan to the deck of the ship. Gu Qingshan noticed that the doors to the other rooms were all open, but they were completely empty, with nothing inside. Have the other 3 passengers already left the ship? Yes, their destinations aren't too far away. Only crippled Bali's place will take us quite a bit of effort to reach. I was just about to go look for him. So you wanted to see him? The old man turned to Gu Qingshan with a surprised expression. Gu Qingshan nodded in confirmation. I have a good relationship with the guardian of the spire, so telling him about this isn't a big deal. I don't know Bali at all. Perhaps if the old man knows, he'll give me some useful advice. Sure enough, the old man thought for a bit and asked, Did you know Bali before? I didn't, Gu Qingshan explained further. Bali once helped someone, but that person couldn't come in person, so he asked me to find Bali and thank him in person. The old man nodded in understanding, then said, That guy Bali, although he's a bit dumb, everyone is happy to get to know him. Why is that? Because after so many years, he's used his actions to show that he's a person that people can't help but admire. Admire him? Gu Qingshan became cautious. This means that he often does things that people can't predict. If that's the case, it'll be a bit hard for me to get to know Bali normally. What did he do? Gu Qingshan asked further. The old man replied. He once captured a top-level demon lord, then spent 200 years trying to convince the demon lord to turn over a new leaf and help others. 200 years? How impressive! Did the demon lord change his mind? No, the demon lord committed suicide. While they were talking, the two of them had reached the deck of the ship. Gu Qingshan looked outside the ship. Everything around them was chaotic, with strange and unusual scenes occasionally flashing by. They were all real worlds. As the ship just happened to pass by one of them, they were able to see what was happening within them in a very short amount of time. Gu Qingshan saw a gigantic golden statue standing in the middle of a city. This scene flashed by quickly. A few moments later, the ship's speed slowly slowed down. An invisible ripple began to spread from the bow of the ship. This meant that the ship was passing through another real world. Gu Qingshan once again saw the golden statue that pierced through the clouds. When he was about to take a closer look at the statue, the ship had already left this world. Even though the ship's speed was already very slow, it was still an existence that could travel through billions of worlds. Gu Qingshan could only roughly see what the golden statue looked like. Thinking about the golden statue, he felt that something wasn't right. Strange, Gu Qingshan muttered. While he was thinking, the ship's speed slowed down again. Another invisible ripple spread from the bow of the ship. Another world appeared in front of Gu Qingshan's eyes. He saw the same golden statue again. Seeing the same golden statue in several worlds in a row was a very strange thing in itself. Gu Qingshan looked at the statue. This time, the ship didn't leave right away, so Gu Qingshan was able to carefully observe the statue. The statue was incredibly lifelike, and the expression of the statue's character could almost immediately be felt by the spectators. Chapter 548. The golden statue depicted an adult man. He had a cigarette in his mouth, a bottle of liquor in his left hand, and a black fedora on his head with his right hand. The man squinted his eyes as if he was observing someone with a sense of disdain. As Gu Qingshan looked at the statue, she finally noticed what she felt was wrong. The man was wearing a pair of black leather gauntlets on his hands, as well as an open leather jacket that revealed his chest full of tattoos. This kind of appearance made him look a little cold and unfeeling. But the lower half of his body was wearing a loose pair of boxer briefs. The cold feeling of the statue was completely ruined by this pair of boxer briefs. The old man stood next to Gu Qingshan and noticed his gaze. The old man shrugged. "We're about to reach that fool's club, so you can see that the surrounding worlds are filled with his statues." Gu Qingshan understood. So this person was the crippled Bali. He's making statues of himself everywhere? Gu Qingshan asked. No, because the worlds here have all received his grace. The statues were made by everyone themselves, the old man continued. When it comes to being warm-hearted, no one can deny that. Gu Qingshan calmed down. If someone was making statues of themselves everywhere, Gu Qingshan would definitely be wary of such a person. Gu Qingshan commented, "The way he dresses, it makes me feel a bit, how do I say it?" The old man laughed. Gu Qingshan looked at the old man in confusion. The old man laughed as he explained, "There was once when he was completely drunk and refused to leave the casino. In the end, he even lost his pants. Coincidentally, a world was about to be destroyed by the demons, so I had no choice but to ask him for help." The old man sighed and said with a smile, "What should we do?" There was no time to buy pants, and a world was about to be destroyed by the demons. The crippled Bali had no choice but to leave the casino. Gu Qingshan realized something. He looked at the old man with a questioning gaze. The old man nodded and said, "Yes, Bali went in his underwear." After that incident, the people of the world he saved were also very grateful to him and made a statue for him. He lost so badly that he didn't even have his pants, just like the statue. Later on, the other worlds that had received his favor also felt that they should build a statue to express their gratitude. That's why this statue became so popular. I see. As the two of them spoke, the boat stopped. At some point, a light appeared on the side of the ship. "We're here." The old man looked at the light and said, "The other side, the real world." A meeting concerning the fate of the entire world was being held in the mountain villa. Zhang Yongho cleared his throat and said, "Therefore, I believe that we should wake those arrogant fellows up." "What do the others think?" Monarch Verona asked. The president looked at Marshal Saint Zhang Zongyang and gestured for him to speak first. Zhang Zongyang answered, "Clearly tell them that they weren't chosen by the heavens, they were only lucky enough to be chosen by the weapons of Huang Quan." Liao Xing also said, "These arrogant fellows have done too many ridiculous and sinful things, it's time for them to be punished." Agreed, the justice judgment machine rumbled. "I second that. Our original intention was to help this fused world become stronger faster, not to become accomplices of a small group of people killing innocent people," the forgetting river soul separating Hook added. The president continued, If that's the case, then we shall announce to the world that everyone has the right to cultivate, but they cannot use the power obtained from cultivation to commit evil, otherwise they will be held responsible by the law. Saying so, everyone looked to the other side. Sue Cher was sitting on the sofa, listening to the small white bird's words. She acted like she didn't hear anything about the world's situation. In fact, every time she returned, she would stay here, silently waiting for Gu Qingshan to return. The small white bird coldly spoke. "I'm done. Who agrees, who disagrees?" After saying that, it changed its tone to that of a statement. Following that, all the dead in the 18 layers of hell nodded their heads, shouting, "Long live the Devil King! We agree with your decision." Sue Cher propped her cheeks with both hands, her eyes glowing as she asked, "Did he really kill all the billions of fiend-kind in the chomping hell?" The small white bird sighed. "I've already told you this 7 times. If I keep going, I'm going to become a storyteller. Then tell me again, how did he save you?" "Fine, fine," the small white bird helplessly replied. Zhang Yongho thought for a bit, then poked Liao Xing with his finger. Liao Xing understood. He loudly asked, "Hey, Lord Su, do you have any objections to what we just said?" "Why ask me? Your boring things have nothing to do with me, and I'm not called Hey," Sue Cher casually replied. "This perverted old man, he really is annoying." Bam! The door opened. Yi Fei Li walked in, her body covered in blood. "That Foundation Realm homicidal maniac has been dealt with. I personally cut off his head," Yi Fei Li answered. "You've heard everyone's opinions through your hollow brain. What's your opinion now?" Monarch Verona asked. "Me?" Yi Fei Li shrugged and smiled in satisfaction. "I'm a man-killer fiend. Killing these cultivators will give me the power to evolve, so of course I'd welcome it with open arms." "Then, we've all reached an agreement," the president said. "No, there are only the 9 lords who haven't expressed their opinion yet," Monarch Verona said with a bit of thought. "Isn't Lord Su here?" Yi Fei Li pointed at Sue Cher and said. The few of them looked at each other without saying a word. Liao Xing cleared his throat and explained. "Lord Su said that this has nothing to do with her." Yi Fei Li sat down, poured herself a glass of soda and gulped it down. "How does it have nothing to do with her? If Lord Su doesn't do anything, that's too irresponsible of her," Yi Fei Li criticized. Everyone looked at him in surprise. Zhang Yongho shook his head, signaling him not to say anything else. "Lord Su is a very powerful person. Last time when Liao Xing and the small white bird said the wrong thing, causing her to erupt with such power that no one could look straight at her. For the past few days, she's been able to easily travel through space to come here. How could a normal person do that?" Sue Cher slightly turned around, squinting her beautiful eyes. She was giving off a dangerous presence. "I don't even care about the 9 lords, why should I care about what you're doing?" Sue Cher's tone was cold as ice as she spoke. Yi Fei Li casually replied, "You have to care, ah? What reason do I have to care?" Sue Cher asked. She was already a bit annoyed. "Because you're his woman, all of this was caused by him, and he's not here right now. Besides you, who else can make decisions for him?" Yi Fei Li said. Sue Cher was stunned. Liao Xing silently gave her a thumbs up. Zhang Yongho raised his eyebrows, a bit surprised. The president and Verona also looked at Yi Fei Li. Yi Fei Li really did grow up. But Su Shui-er's aura suddenly rose as she abruptly stood up. "Tell me everything you just said in detail again," she spoke very seriously. "You've decided to care?" Yi Fei Li asked. Chapter 549. In front of Su Cher, Yi Fei Li explained the current situation in detail. The legendary spells and abilities had already appeared in the human realm. The mystical weapons of Huang Quan had also begun to search for their masters. Even the lifespan of humans had become longer due to cultivation. Under such circumstances, it was inevitable that a few people who cultivated very quickly became greedy due to their unprecedented power. Some of them began to form their own organizations, while others no longer accepted the restraints of society's rules and began to act according to their own desires. In short, the thousands of years of tradition that humanity had established was on the verge of collapsing due to the rapid growth of individual strength. Su Cher seriously listened to her, but didn't pay too much attention to this. She looked at Yi Fei Li and asked, "What's your relationship with Qing Shan? He saved me from destruction and corruption, leading me forward. I'm not sure how to describe this relationship." Yi Fei Li thought for a bit and replied. He waved his hand behind him. Suddenly, a pure young girl appeared beside him. "Come, say hello to sister-in-law," Yi Fei Li said. "Hello, sister-in-law," the young girl smiled sweetly. "Hello." Su Cher accepted this form of address and evaluated the young girl. For some reason, her hand moved. A gray card was tossed out, turning into a thick gray fog in the air that enveloped the young girl. The gray fog quickly gathered and turned into a crystal ball. The crystal ball fell into Su Cher's hand. Su Cher squinted her beautiful eyes and stared at the crystal ball. She told Yi Fei Li, "No need to be nervous because she's a soul, I can see her past." Countless images quickly flashed through Su Cher's eyes, then disappeared. Ghosts don't have bodies, so they can't resist the probing of cards. For the past year, everything that happened to the young girl appeared in Su Cher's eyes. "So, there's such a thing," Su Cher muttered. Yi Fei Li asked, "Are you observing her past?" "Of course, I can't easily trust a stranger," Su Cher said without hesitation. She looked at Yi Fei Li, and her attitude had become much more intimate. "From what I've seen in the past, this young man's relationship with Gu Qingshan is quite good. What do you want me to do? Help you?" Su Cher asked. "He's not helping us," Yi Fei Li continued. "Gu Qingshan did his best to fuse the two worlds together, so he probably wouldn't want to see everything messed up. As for the establishment of the cultivation method and system, they were all established after a long period of painstaking research. Now that he's not here, we hope that you can help look after this world for him." Su Cher was silent for a moment. He once had a cultivation technique that was given to him by Gu Qingshan. It was a pity that he had lost that manual. She already knew everything about Gu Qingshan's recent actions from the weapons of Huang Quan. Thinking back, Gu Qingshan really was doing everything he could to protect this world. Everything that's happening now was Gu Qingshan's blood, sweat, and tears. Thinking that, Su Cher firmly nodded. "I can promise." The others all showed expressions of attentiveness. Su Cher solemnly declared, "From this moment onwards, as the Nine Lords, I agree with the results of your discussion. I also hope that those villains will be restrained by the law and won't cause any more trouble for this world." The President and Verona exchanged glances, seeing the joy in each other's eyes. If the Nine Lords are willing to cooperate with the two strongest countries, then this world can once again return to the era of law and order. Those powerful individuals won't be able to go against the three giants that are also improving. The world's order will be protected. "Then our discussion has come to a conclusion," the President happily said. At this time, a screen appeared on everyone's holobrain. The Nine Lords were sitting together, holding a press conference. A beautiful electronic female voice was heard. "We will now announce two important pieces of news. The Nine Lords of the Freedom Federation have jointly announced two pieces of news. From now on, all weapons of Huang Quan will be returned to the Nine Lords. Those who voluntarily hand them over will be rewarded with credits. Those who resist will be immediately arrested." Secondly, in the press conference just now, the Nine Lords have confirmed that among the top 100 combatants in the world, 64 of them have submitted to the Nine Lords. From today onwards, the Nine Lords will establish the Grand Cultivation Alliance. The electronic voice on the holobrain stopped. Su Cher was stunned. At this time, her mother, Madame Su, stood up on the screen. Madame Su began to speak on behalf of the Su family. "The establishment of the Grand Cultivation Alliance represents an existence that surpasses the authority of any country. From today onwards, the 9 lords will bear the responsibility of leading this world forward. The 9 lords will establish a new law that is in line with the world's development. Sue Cher silently watched this. Everyone else in the room didn't say anything, politely staying silent. Everyone knows about the relationship between Sue Cher and Gu Qingshan, so they also know that this isn't a good time to say anything. Sue Cher bit her lip and silently turned off her hollow brain. "You're Yi Fei Li?" Sue Cher suddenly asked. "That's right, I'm Yi Fei Li. Gu Qingshan has always treated you like his little brother. You know this very well, right?" "That's right, he's always taken good care of me. I've always kept that in mind." "Very well." Sue Cher solemnly took out a glowing blood-colored card. "Take this is a card I got when I passed by Demon Town. It'll be good for you." Yi Fei Li quickly waved her hand. "There's no need for that, I don't think I did anything. I shouldn't have taken something from you. Take it. How Gu Qingshan treats you, I'll treat you the same. This is my greeting gift to you," Sue Cher said. Without saying anything else, she lightly flicked the card. The card flew towards Yi Fei Li. Yi Fei Li had no choice but to catch it. The card suddenly disappeared from his hand. Yi Fei Li opened her hand in surprise, checking it from top to bottom. "There's nothing. Where's the card?" "Yi Fei Li, guard this place well. If Gu Qingshan returns, immediately notify me." Saying so, Sue Cher stood up and walked out of the mansion. At some point, a scepter had appeared in her hand. The door opened. Sue Cher walked out. "Where are you going?" Yi Fei Li loudly asked from behind. Sue Cher didn't stop and answered without turning around. "I'm going to protect this world for him." Zhang Young-ho didn't move, only now did he abruptly stand up and chase after her. "What's the matter?" Liao Xing also stood up and asked. "She's Gu Qingshan's woman. If she goes against the 9 lords by herself and something happens, we won't be able to explain it to Gu Qingshan," Zhang Young-ho hurriedly explained. "That won't happen, there's still us." Yi Fei Li followed behind Zhang Young-ho. "Go, the entire Federation, aside from the aristocrats, the citizens and the military, will be your support," the president said. The hollow brain in his hand lit up as impartial goddess contacted them. Monarch Verona also took out her hollow brain and called Iron Shroud. The weapons of Huang Quan followed Zhang Young-ho and Yi Fei Li out. The crowd rushed out of the mansion, only to see Sue Cher standing in the middle of the empty field outside the mansion, raising the scepter in her hand. "What's she doing?" Yi Fei Li asked in surprise. "I'm not sure, but I have a bad feeling," Zhang Young-ho answered. Then Sue Cher muttered something. She stabbed the scepter into the ground. Boom! Dust was kicked up, intense wind kicked up. A loud and dignified voice resounded from the void of space. "Master of discipline and punishment, inheritor of the infinite world's blood sea, wielder of the white robe and scepter, venerable mistress Fog Island, I hear your call." The wind and dust scattered. A monster covered in thick armor slowly descended from the sky. Its body was as tall as a mountain, with a pair of horns on its head and a pair of wings on its back that gave off a faint gray mist. "You've come at the right time," Sue Cher said. The humanoid monster had a pair of vertical pupils, kneeling on one knee facing the mountain. Chapter 550. "Milady, do you want to summon an army to kill every living being in this world?" The giant monster knelt down on one knee and respectfully asked. "Do you crave killing that much?" Sue Cher smirked. The giant monster lowered its head and spoke humbly. "Please forgive my rude language, I only sensed your anger towards some sort of restraint." "Restraint?" Sue Cher muttered. "That's right, I've been avoiding it for too long, it's time for me to face it head-on." She reached her hand out and pulled the scepter from the ground. The monster opened its palm and let Sue Cher stand on it. It put Sue Cher on top of its head. "Let us go, that way." Sue Cher pointed in a certain direction. Yes, the monster spread its wings and flapped them. With a hoof, the monster took to the sky and headed towards the Federation's capital. The monster flew very quickly, almost disappearing without a trace in the blink of an eye. Jang Young-ho stared at the sky and muttered, "Where did she go?" "I don't know, but from how angry she looked, someone's probably going to suffer," the small white bird answered. "With such power, we'll only be a burden if we go," Yi Fei crossed her arms and said. The president stood at the door of the mansion and slowly spoke. "If there's no issue with safety, then it's not a good idea for us to get involved in the matter between her and the 9 lords." "I agree," Verona nodded in agreement. Everyone returned to the mansion. As soon as they sat down, they heard a scream of pain. Yi Fei was lying on the ground in pain, rolling around. From the looks of it, he seemed to be going through some sort of torture. Everyone was shocked. But before they could do anything, Yi Fei abruptly stood up. "What's wrong?" Jang Young-ho asked. "It's nothing, I just felt a bit of pain, but I'm fine now." Yi Fei was breathing heavily. He had a strange expression on his face. "Hey, did you hear anything?" Everyone, including the weapons of Huang Quan, went silent. The surroundings were very quiet. Only the gentle rustling of the tree leaves could be heard from outside the window. "If you're talking about the mountain breeze, I think I heard it," the small white bird said. "It's not the mountain wind," Yi Fei said. "Then there aren't any other sounds," Liao Xing said. "Isn't your God's chosen skill always able to hear things?" Jang Young-ho asked. Yi Fei's expression became even weirder. "You really didn't hear anything?" Everyone shook their heads. Jang Young-ho thought for a moment and asked, "What did you hear?" "A voice came out of nowhere and told me, 'Welcome to the Soul Force Converter Instrument. From now on, your slaughter will directly discard impure power and begin to absorb pure soul force. Your evolution speed will be further accelerated.' That card. I'm guessing it's the card that Su Cher gave you," Liao Xing said. Everyone was enlightened. Soul Force, what a nostalgic name, the forgetting river soul separating Hook sighed emotionally. "What is Soul Force?" Yi Fei asked with interest. Soul Force is also known as divine power. It's the origin of the world, the purest power of all living beings, capable of activating the laws of reality. The forgetting river soul separating Hook looked at Yi Fei and said, "Seems like what Su Cher gave you was an incredible God's chosen power, is that so?" Yi Fei was a bit unsure. "None of us can use Soul Force, only divine armaments can," the small white bird said with envy. "I'll become a divine armament?" Yi Fei was a bit confused. "That's not it, you'll only become more powerful. The same as us divine armaments, or even surpass us," the forgetting river soul separating Hook answered. Hearing the soul separating Hook, everyone looked at Yi Fei with envy. "I'm Gu Qingshan's business partner, she should have given me one of these just now," Jang Young-ho muttered to himself. The forgetting river soul separating Hook explained, "Things that can directly use soul force aren't that common, there aren't that many of them in the entire samsara world. I'm guessing she only got one of these by chance, but she gave it to Yi Fei." Liao Xing was a bit unwilling to accept it. "Because Yi Fei is Gu Qingshan's best friend," the small white bird cut in. "Me too," Liao Xing shouted. "That's not the case. Lord Su isn't a simple person, she wouldn't give Yi Fei anything just because of her relationship with Yi Fei," the president said. Everyone looked at the president. The president's eyes were full of wisdom and wisdom. "Besides power, don't underestimate this little girl's other aspects." "Then why?" Liao Xing asked. Yi Fei made her change her attitude. "That alone is enough to make her look at her in a different light," the president said. Verona added. "Furthermore, she must have seen Yi Fei's girlfriend's memories and recognized Yi Fei. That's right, there must be something about Yi Fei that she can recognize," the president said. In a few words, the two leaders explained the situation clearly. Everyone thought about it and silently nodded. Liao Xing glared at Yi Fei, still unwilling to accept it. "My cultivation speed is the fastest. Brat, I'm against you using that thing to cheat." Yi Fei ignored Liao Xing. He took out his hollow brain. "Impartial goddess, please give me a prey." He was about to test the changes that soul force brought him. Impartial goddess answered, Mr. Yi Fei, 750 kilometers to the southeast, there is a Foundation establishment late-stage cultivator. This person has just killed the local mayor and police chief, currently robbing a bank vault. According to the Federation's laws, you may execute this person on the spot. Roger, Yi Fei turned off his hollow brain. As he was about to leave, he heard a knock on the mansion's door. Someone loudly called out, Is anyone here? Who are you? Liao Xing answered. He stood up, about to open the door. Zhang Yongho suddenly reached out to stop him. Don't go, Zhang Yongho whispered. What is it? Liao Xing asked. His killing intent is very subtle, but not normal, Zhang Yongho said. He stood up with a serious expression, channeled his spirit energy, and used a technique to control the air. The door opened. A man with long hair stood at the door. He carried a red tasseled spear on his back. The man looked at the open door and smiled. Being able to sense my killing intent, how interesting, but you've misunderstood, my killing intent isn't directed at you. May I know who you are? Zhang Yongho asked. The man bowed. I am a messenger. Whose messenger? The Azura realm. Everyone was shocked. The Forgetting River Soul Separating Hook asked, What business do you have in the human realm? Simply put, the Demis of the Heaven Realm and the Wraiths of the Wraith Realm are forming an allied army, preparing to launch a full-scale war against the fused world of Huang Quan and the human realm. The heavenly god seems to have just been defeated, the president spoke in a low voice. That was done by a combatant from the other world. The Demis don't accept it at all, the man continued. The human realm was saved thanks to the efforts of over 1 trillion dead people. The human realm didn't pay much of a price, but instead enjoyed all the benefits of the two worlds fusing together. He smiled and continued. Who would have thought that the fusion of the two worlds would bring such great benefits to living beings? The living beings of the human realm all grew very quickly, so both the Demis and Wraiths couldn't help themselves. You mean, they're coveting the fused human realm? The president asked. That's right, if the Heaven Realm or the Wraith Realm can fuse with your world, they'll become even stronger. Who wouldn't be tempted by such a good thing? Everyone froze. The room fell silent. You're only here to deliver a message? Zhang Yongho doubtfully asked. Of course not, the man continued. In truth, the Beast King realm is also secretly becoming restless. The entire Samsara world is coveting each other's worlds, so I'm here to warn everyone. Verona went straight to the point. According to what you said, the Heaven Realm, Wraith Realm, and Beast King realm are all coveting the human realm, so why would you Azura be so kind? The man smiled and said, We have a peaceful solution. Please fuse your world into our Azura realm. This way we'll protect you and ensure that you won't be invaded by the other worlds at another location. The capital of the Federation. In the middle of the night, the Nine Lords press conference had just ended. At this point, all unrelated personnel had already left. The important members of the Nine Lords were all gathered in the Huang family's main courtyard, waiting for the banquet to begin. This banquet wasn't open to the public. Aside from the Nine Lords and direct descendants, there were also high-level cultivators who came to join them. Borrowing the opportunity of fusing the two worlds, their cultivation speed increased by leaps and bounds. Golden Core Realm was only the lowest requirement to join the Nine Lords. As the banquet was about to begin, more and more combatants arrived. They greeted each other, recognizing each other's identities. The Grand Cultivation Alliance was about to be established. As the beneficiaries, every guest here had a smile on their faces. It was 7:00 sharp. An old man with a graceful demeanor walked up to the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, the old man faced the crowd and began to speak. Today will be a day that will go down in history. Bam! The door was completely shattered. Intense wind blew into the courtyard. Su Shui air appeared from within the wind, looking at the group of people. Su Sher. Lord Su. Daughter. As soon as the crowd noticed her, they all shouted. All the prepared attacks stopped. If the other party was a lord, she wouldn't be much of a threat. The security guards were scared to death. Fortunately, they managed to find out who she was and didn't hurt her. If they accidentally hurt a lord of the 9 lords in this kind of situation, they would have no choice but to shoot themselves. Schwer! My daughter, come here quickly, Su Cher's parents waved at her. Su Cher silently walked over, looked at her parents and spoke in a low voice. Father, mother, I seem to be the lord of the Su family. Why do you have to overstep me and represent the Su family? Su Cher's father, Su Wenxing, was expressionless. But he didn't say anything. Schwer, you've only just become a lord, there are many things you don't know yet, we need to be your guides, Madame Su said stiffly. That's right, Schwer, you're still young, your parents won't harm you, let them help you, one of the lords smiled and said. The other lords also nodded in agreement. Su Cher suddenly reached her hand out to hold her parents' hands. Her parents immediately froze in place. 2 long black insects hurriedly crawled out from Father Su and Mother Su's ears, wanting to fly away. Bam! They couldn't escape and broke into 2 puffs of black smoke in the air. So that's how it is, Su Cher's feelings of being wronged and depressed were all gone. Strands of white light began to emit from her body, covering her like sharp thorns. Chapter 551. Seeing her parents' lifeless expressions, Su Cher felt a pang of pain in her heart. Obviously, they were being controlled by some sort of magic. This magic affected both their bodies and minds greatly. Su Cher swung her scepter. Bloodline offering, she muttered. A bright red string of blood flew out from her body, connecting her and her parents together. Su Wenxing and Madame Su's faces slowly regained some color, their cloudy eyes also regained clarity. During this period of time, both their bodies and minds were completely healed. But Su Cher's face was pale. Beads of cold sweat seeped out of her smooth forehead. It was painful. It was very painful. Using one's own life force and spirit power to take on someone else's wounds wasn't a simple thing to do. She had to take on 2 people's pain at once. But this was her parents, so Su Cher was willing to do it. Father, mother, who did this to you? You can tell me now, Su Cher said. The few lords stood at a distance and listened quietly. At this time, they were secretly signaling their subordinates with their eyes. A few particularly powerful people among them were preparing themselves, while Su Wenxing stood there, sighing with a defeated expression on his face. Madame Su also lowered her head in silence. They recalled the things that had happened to them in the recent period of time. Hurry up and tell me, I won't let that person get away, Su Cher urged them. Su Wenxing looked at Su Cher with a complicated expression and didn't say anything. It's fine, Schwer, their subordinates are all very powerful, Madame Su spoke in a rare soft tone. Su Cher cut her off. No. No matter who it is that touched my family, I'll make them regret it. She gritted her teeth. Don't worry, mother, no matter how powerful they are, in front of me, they're nothing but. Before he finished, a few dozen black shadows suddenly appeared, rushing towards Su Cher from all directions. The entire outer perimeter of the Huang family was sealed off. From now on, no one outside would know what happened inside the Huang family. Su Cher looked around. Dozens of cultivators drew their weapons and stabbed at her at the same time. These people were originally standing behind the various manor lords and were their personal guards. They were the strongest cultivators. They gave it their all and were determined to kill him in one strike. At this moment of extreme danger, Su Cher finally understood. This was a plot by the other 8 prefectures against the Su family. Su Cher sneered and whispered 2 words while holding the scepter. All dead. Bang 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 bang. All the cultivators who charged over exploded, turning into balls of blood and flesh. Blood rained down. Screams rang out. The crowd became frightened and confused. Su Cher didn't care about that. She waved her scepter and pointed it at the corpses. She murmured something. Following Su Cher's words, dozens of illusory figures were about to rise into the air, but they were pulled back by an invisible force in mid-air. If one looked closely, they would find that these dozens of figures were the same as the cultivators from before. This was their soul. Su Cher hated them so much that she didn't even spare their souls. A gray card flew out from the scepter and enveloped all the souls. "Let me see your memories," Su Cher spoke in a low voice. These people were the personal guards of the manor lords, usually following them closely, responsible for their safety. So they must know a lot of secret. Su Cher silently swore to herself that she would definitely find the person who framed her parents. The gray fog spread, then quickly gathered to form a crystal ball. Su Cher held the crystal ball and observed the dozens of images inside. "Go!" one of the manor lords couldn't help but shout. "All of you, kill her!" The manor lords all gave their orders. The cultivators here all attacked Su Cher. Strangely, there seemed to be some sort of invisible barrier around Su Cher, so no matter how they attacked, they couldn't harm her or her parents at all. While Su Cher lowered her head and focused on the crystal ball, voices came out from the crystal ball one after another, as well as images. Almost instantly, the truth was revealed to Su Cher and her parents. Inside the crystal ball, the 8 manor lords were secretly discussing something. "Su Cher rejected all of the candidates we recommended," one of the manor lords sighed. "She doesn't want to marry one of our direct descendants?" "That's right, how could she?" Everyone was in an uproar. Someone slammed the table, angrily shouting, "She's always refused to cooperate with us on every single matter." Someone calmly explained, "During the ceremony of inheritance, there have been many successors of the Lord who chose the path of strength, but throughout history, among those who accepted this inheritance, Su Cher was the only one who returned alive." Someone else followed up, "But she's kept it a secret, refusing to reveal it to us." Someone else added, "After becoming a manor lord, she never accepted our orders, nor did she contribute to the 9 lords' affairs. This little girl is too stubborn, she's not mature enough to wield authority. I think that old lady Su made the wrong choice." The manor lords were full of complaints. One manor lord concluded, "We can't go on like this, we need to think of something." The manor heads looked at each other and fell into deep thought. A peerless female combatant. Not only is she powerful, but she also knows the secret to passing the inheritance trial. Her value far surpasses anything in the mortal world. Everyone was thinking. A few moments later, one of the manor lords spoke up. "Su Wensheng and his wife are both obsessed with power, they'd be more than happy to be the manor lord themselves," starting from Su Cher's parents. "That's a good idea, but how do we do it?" someone else asked. "We'll just say that Su Cher is too young, and they're Su Cher's parents. We'll support Su Wensheng to be the manor lord first, then pass the position to Su Cher later on. They'll definitely be happy to do it, but what are our conditions? After they become manor lords, they must think of a way to marry Su Cher into one of our lords. If that's the case, there won't be any problems." The manor lords all nodded. Out of nowhere, someone spoke up. "Why don't we take this chance to take control of the entire Su family?" Everyone was stunned. "You mean?" someone asked. "Su Wensheng and his wife are obsessed with power, but they don't have any skills, nor are they professionists. As long as they leave the Su family's territory, we can gather the elites of the 8 lords and control them," one of the manor lords mused. "We'll invite them here to discuss the matter of becoming the manor lord," another manor lord followed up. "As long as they're tempted and really want their daughter to step down, they'll definitely leave their territory and come here to discuss." The manor lords were tempted. They reached a consensus as quickly as possible. "That's a good idea. If we control them, we'll be in charge of the Su family from now on. Not only that, Su Cher won't be wary of her own parents, we'll have even more ways to obtain her." Clang! The crystal ball fell to the ground. Su Cher's hand was still holding the crystal ball. She stood there, motionless. Su Wenxing's lips twitched a bit, trying to explain. Shui, we're doing this for your own good, for my own good, Su Cher mechanically repeated. Madame Su hurriedly added. That's right, Shui, we really want you to have a good home. I really don't understand. Su Cher was trying her best to control her emotions, but couldn't help but ask. I've never cared about anything in the family, leaving everything to you. Are you still not satisfied? Su Wenxing and Madame Su exchanged glances. Madame Su then took her daughter's hand and said, Shui, since you're not going to care about anything, why don't you hand over the starlight cloak that symbolizes the authority of a manor lord? That way we'll have a better reason to do things. Su Cher froze. The starlight cloak. Ever since she came to Fog Isle, everything she treasured had left her one by one. This cloak was the only treasure she had left. It was a memento of her resistance against fate. And now, someone wants to take this cloak away as well. Can I not protect anything at all? Unknowingly, a warm feeling welled up in her eyes. This feeling was about to burst out of her eyes. Su Cher hurriedly wiped her tears away. I've already sworn not to cry so easily. I've already been strong enough. Why do I still cry? You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.